Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We had to make a guest change. Geraldine Orozco is ailing and sick. So Lorien Fenton, another San Franciscoan, is here with us to talk about aliens and the secret space program. Oh yes, let's do this tonight. Let's have some fun. Let's get creative with the woo, shall we? And the best part, we have all of you here as well. Race fan in the gold medal position, SJ with silver, and B with a nice bronze medal tonight. And who else is here? Abbott Hoffman, Michael Morris, Roy Boy, James Horn, Tim Mothman and his goatee. Nice to see you all. Chris 716, Chef Chris, Robert Lamoth, Chris. Teen, nice to see you. Dragonfly, how you doing? Human Carl is here. Human Carl will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio, and thank you for your service, Human Carl. We very much appreciate it. Free your mind. Jenny White Bear is back. Nice to see you back, Jenny. We've missed you. Missed you lots. Dino Bravo, Lee the Bee, Luscious Jewels. Nice to see you all. Deer Slayer, good to have you back. And as we continue on with the roll call, who's up next? Forrest Louie. Nice to see you, my man. Thank you for coming on in. And as we continue on, Bar Madison, good to see you. Number 2 in your program, starting on defense from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Jansson. Mike Rivers is back. Mike Rivers will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Continuing on, Paramarv, thanks for joining us. T-Bone, my man, thank you for coming on in. And who else is next? Scrolling on down. Millennium, what's happening? How's the hair? Let us know if you don't mind. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. And W. David Page, good to see you. Skip to Malou, good morning to you. And Ozzy, oi, oi to you. Noble Patrick and Sandra Kincaid. I get so excited to see you, Sandra Kincaid, that I just get tongue-tied. Michael Dyer, thank you for joining us again. Thurston Howell III. Gnome Squatch, where have you been hiding? Good to see you. Nina Williams, thank you for coming on in. S. Vermette, nice to see you again. And who else is here? Rayfin. Little Cam over on Twitch, good to have you here. Richard Elmore, thank you for coming on in. And who else is here? Spencer, good to see you. Jorgen Johansson. He'll be starting at center ice. He's from Luleå, Sweden. He's got 64 points in the year so far. 64 points. Wildberry. Tim, what's happening? Marty Burback. Big J. And who else is joining us here? Scrolling on down, we have Matthew Gutka. Thank you for joining us. Algaray over on Twitch. How you doing, my man? And Susan Alloway, thanks for coming on in. Donna Laddie, welcome to SOR Chat. Jason Van Leuven, good to see you. And Eternity Eternal, thank you for coming on in. The lovely and talented Kira. Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you and win an election. Cosmic Joe, Operation Shutdown. Digger Dog, always a pleasure to have you guys here. Scrolling on down, Michael Fontaine, Les Paul Holland strumming away. And let's see here. Rockin' Rory, good to have you back. Scanman, thank you for coming on in. Woo-Poo, good to see you. At JSCO, good to have you here. Foxy Joe, thanks for coming on in. Trebor, how you doing? Let's get the radio side started. Welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Lorien Fenton comes in to talk aliens and UFOs as we get ready for a great show here. And we await Bill. There he is, Bill WD-40, lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go in nice and smooth. No rigidness, none. All right, let's see here. We have Maureen Green, Javier from Crypted 559. Thank you for coming on in. Scoop Looter, welcome to SOR Chat. Paul Demon, nice to see you. Hi, Vanessa. And where are we here? Oh, let's see here. Oh, Dirty Filth has popped on in. Super Chat is open. Hi, Cypher. And, yeah, get those horns up, everyone. Guess what? It's time to rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight. Lorien Fenton is here to talk aliens and secret space program. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton returns for Among the Missing. Follow that up by the extended version of the Cryptid Report with Travis Willier Moosetoos. Let's get it going. Lorien Fenton became actively involved in the San Francisco Bay Area UFO community after almost dying from a mysterious form of pneumonia during the 2009 summer. It was that near-death experience that propelled her into doing work that she loves in a community that she has been so passionate about her entire life. She's a part of MUFON. She has UFOCon and many other things that really, really delve deep into this topic. Now, for our YouTube side of everything, Lorien is just going to be audio tonight. She's stepping on in, hanging on out with us. So we're going to say hello, Lorien Fenton. Always
Hi,
a pleasure.
David. It's so good to see you.
You can see me. I can't see you.
I'm sorry, you guys. I got David called me and he said, Geraldine's not feeling well. Would you fill in? I said, sure, but I'm at work and we have no cameras here. I didn't even know we had a microphone until I tried to log in. So it's even funnier.
Well, by the sound of your audio, it sounds like you're about to take a steam bath or something along those lines. So,
I'm sorry. See, this place is an echo chamber, and I can't do anything about it. So really sorry, everybody, but it'll be a good show.
It's going to be an amazing show. You are a lifelong experiencer for people who've never heard you before. Do you remember way back when your first extraterrestrial encounter?
Well, I've never, okay, so don't start laughing at me, David. Don't start laughing, because I've never met an alien that I know of, okay? So that's a problem, because I'm an experiencer with the white light beings, and I didn't really see one until I was in my late 20s. So I've seen a lot of ships. I've seen probably 10 different type of ships, and I've seen them pretty close up. It isn't like they were far away up in the sky like a dot. No, Lorien gets to see the whole ship, the lights, the rivets, the shape, the whole bit. But my first experience is the one that I've told on Coast to Coast, because this is the one that kind of my whole family finally figured out that I had something really strange going on with me. They already knew it, but this was the one that solidified it. And this is the rabbit story. Have you ever heard this one, Dave?
I don't think I have heard the rabbit story.
Oh my God, the rabbit story is great. This is what I told on Coast to Coast to George Norrie, and he was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So here it goes. It's now 1963, and my grandfather, my grandmother, and myself and my younger sister are going to the Multnomah County Fair out in Portland, Oregon. And we grew up on a small farm on the outskirts of Portland. So the big deal at the fair is the 4-H animals back in 1963. Really, that's all there was. There was like corn dogs and cotton candy and a Ferris wheel. That's all I remember as far as food and, rides, and a lot of square dancing and things like that. So anyhow, we get to the fair, and my grandfather has to go look for a sheep. He wants to buy another sheep. My grandmother wants to get some ducks, and my little sister just goes off with them. But I wanted a rabbit. So I went over to the rabbit area, and I'm sitting there with this prize-winning black rabbit with these long floppy ears, and he's huge, and he's a prize winner. And the little kids that had him, they were about 12 and 13 years old. There was a brother and a sister, and they said, sure, you can hold him, great. So I sat down in the cedar chips, because back then it was just nothing but cedar chips all over the ground. And I sat there for 45 minutes or so. And then my grandparents came back, and my grandfather, I said, I really want this rabbit. They asked the young girl and boy, could he buy it, bid on it at the auction later that day. And they said, no, sorry, we're keeping him. He's our breeding rabbit, and he's a prize winner. And no. So I started getting upset, as most kids do when they can't have something. And I'm crying, and I'm like, oh, I really want the rabbit. My grandfather says to me, I'm not building a hutch. I don't want a rabbit. They just multiply. I said, well, there's only one. He goes, still, he'll figure it out. So I'm like, okay. And so we leave, and I'm so upset in the car. We're driving back home. And I don't know if you guys remember, but they used to have these bench seats where you could, you just sit in the car, and they'd have a bench in the whole length of the car. It wasn't bucket seats anywhere back then. And I used to, and also back then you weren't strapped in like you were going to Mars. Okay. I mean, these kids nowadays, they have no fun. They can't reach their sisters and brothers and beat them up or anything anymore. I mean, it's kind of sad. But anyhow, so we're back there. My sister's like 3 years old, and she's just rolling around back there. They're huge. You got to remember, cars were huge back then. So anyhow, so I'm sliding back and forth, hanging over the front bench seat, sliding back and forth between my grandfather and my grandmother. And I'd go to my grandmother and whisper in her ear, tell Grandpa to buy me a rabbit. I really want a rabbit. And she'd say, no, he doesn't really want to do that. And I'd slide over to him, and thinking they couldn't see me doing it or hear each other, right? I mean, I don't know how dumb I was at 6 years old or whatever. And I slide over to him and go, please, Grandpa, buy me a rabbit. I really want a rabbit. And like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not building a hutch. And I'm like, okay. I'd slide, wait a few minutes and slide back over to Grandma and try to cajole her into, helping me get this rabbit. And nothing was working. Nothing. And anything I tried, anything I said did not work. So finally, we're about 6 blocks from the house. And I get in between the middle of them, and I put my hands together. And I can remember I'm in first grade in Catholic school. So I just learned how to pray the Our Father and all these Hail Marys and, all these things, right? So I put my hands together, and I'm hanging over, and I'm praying really loud now. I'm like, dear God, please give me a rabbit. I'll take good care of it, and I'm going, and then I start saying Our Father, and I'm doing all this, right? But here's the kicker on this. at the end of the Our Father, I start feeling like later on in life, I realized it was like a Kundalini experience. I got this jolt of like heat going through my body, and I felt this love that I can't describe to people. I'm 6 years old and I don't know what this is, but I think it's normal, okay? Because I thought when you prayed, this all happened all the time, right? So I'm not thinking anything of it. We pull up to the driveway and it's going to our small farm, and all the farms out in that area of the outskirts of Portland had gates in front of them. So there's a gate there, and we pull up, and my grandfather is looking, and my grandmother starts looking on the driveway beyond the gate. So I pop up, and I'm looking too, and there's a black blob on the other side of the gate, and they're like, what? So my grandfather gets out and opens the gate, and sitting right in front of the gate on the other side of it is a rabbit that looks identical, same, species, same whatever, same one. It's the exact same rabbit I left back at the Multnomah County Fair. It's just sitting there in the driveway waiting to be picked up. And my grandfather is like, what the heck? And my grandmother turns around, looks at me and goes, oh my God, you've got the gift. And I was like, what? So that was kind of like the moment that everybody in the family knew that there was something strange about me. And also my grandfather, as he's coming back to the car, my sister's clapping and I'm all happy. And I get out of the car and he gives me the rabbit. He goes, I guess I have to build that hutch after all, to my grandmother. So it was pretty funny. Now, the interesting part to this was 3 months later, the hutch has been built, by the way, and I'm out in the driveway before school one day, and I'm playing with the rabbit, and these two kids come up the driveway and they say, hey, how long have you had the rabbit? And I said, oh, about 3 months or so. I said a while, a few months. And they said, well, somehow our rabbit escaped on this day and we couldn't find it. I said, it must be yours. And I gave it back to him. And that was the end of the rabbit. But it's interesting because I hadn't thought about that for like 30 or 40 years until I was asked to go on Coast to Coast one night. And I went, what is the turning point in my life? When is the big moment I knew that I was psychic, or my family knew, or, whatever? Because there is the story of me, dying from rat poisoning, or almost dying from rat poisoning, and an angel coming over the crib in the hospital. But that was my grandmother's experience about me, because she saw the angel for the second time in her life. The first time it saved her life and told her she had work to do and she had things to do. She couldn't die yet. And that was at their farmhouse in Idaho. And then she said the second time she saw it was over my crib after I ate all the rat poison, and they said I wouldn't make it through the night. And so the angel, said to her, she's got work to do, so we're going to make sure she keeps going. And that was that. So my grandmother fell asleep and my parents were all mad at her for it. And it's a long story, that one. But anyhow, so that was kind of the moment my grandmother really knew, because she was very psychic too. And my other grandmother on my mom's Italian side of the family, instead of the Irish Scottish side, which is my paternal grandmother, the one in the car with the rabbit, they all knew that I was quite different, but this kind of solidified it for them. It's like I'm manifesting stuff now, right? They're like going, what the heck? So there's the rabbit story for you.
I love it. I love it. And that's what I love about you. You always have very intriguing stories to share along. Now, you are somebody who's been involved with this community for decades now. You are, I consider you one of the OGs of this entire phenomenon that goes back. And I mean that as a compliment.
I get it.
And you have done everything, though. You've worked with conspiracy theorists. You've worked with secret space program. You've worked with super soldiers. You've worked with UFOs and MUFON and people who have had alien abductions, my lab encounters, everything in between. You have done it all here. Is there one subject or two that you love more than others?
Well, now that's an interesting question, because yesterday on my radio show, I was talking about the fact that the more I know and the longer I'm in this field, the less I can figure out to even come to a conclusion. It just gets murkier and murkier, where every couple of years, Dave, I think I've got it figured out and I think I know the answers, and then it just falls apart for me. So is there one area I like more than the other? I would say that it's the mind control part of it that's coming from the ETs. Because that really is, if you look at everything involved with the whole thing, the secret space program, the super soldiers, the disclosure that's going on now. I mean, every aspect of this giant facet we call ufology, at the end of the day, all that matters is that the fact that the aliens have superior control over every human being on this planet. And I think that is why the guys that are part of disclosure right now are really afraid of the ETs themselves, because I think they finally came to the realization probably 40 years ago, 50 years ago, or even 60 years ago, that if they're going up against the ETs, they're going to lose no matter what, because these guys can just look you in the eye and tell you to go over and pound sand and you'll do it. So how do you fight that? You can't. You have to get along with them, or, things can get really ugly, And yes. I got a story around this, and I think it's very intriguing and really important that people understand the depth of the mind control that comes from ET. And I wouldn't say it's everybody that's under this, but I would say for sure that one of my downloads, that was the first thing they opened with, was, we can control your thoughts, we can see through your eyes, we can make you do things you never do. Okay, that's what they said to me in one of my biggest downloads. That was the opening statement, and I was flabbergasted. But about 2 years later, I'm talking to let's see, I'm trying to figure out this whole story to give it to you correctly. I was talking to somebody about the movie, the Stan Romanek movie. Extraordinary, the Stan Romanek movie. Now, whether you like Stan or believe him or not, that's another whole issue. But the guys who made the movie, which you know very well, is Sumple and Roth and all those guys over at J3 Films, right? So I'm talking to them, and I'm like, I've seen the Stan Romanek movie, and for some weird reason, I'm laying in bed that night after thinking about it, and the ETs told me as I was waking up the next day, they said, Lorien, watch the movie. And I'm like, I don't want to watch it again. I've seen it 8 times. And they said, no, you got to watch the movie. I'm like, okay. So I watched the movie, and it gets to the point where at the sliding glass door, there's the little gray ET that stands there, and they call him the old man ET or whatever. And when I see it for the 9th time, he's not there. And I'm thinking to myself, something's wrong, and I didn't know what it was. Okay, now this is the kicker, you guys. I didn't know what was wrong, but I knew something was wrong, and I didn't see him. So it bothered me for 2 or 3 days, and then finally about a week later, I wake up and they say, watch the movie again. I'm like, no, I don't want to watch it again. Don't bother me anymore. So I fight with them for 2 or 3 days. And then finally I break down and said, okay, I'll watch it again. So I watch it again. And again, I know something's wrong. I know that something's missing, and something was really off, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And I go to sleep, and I wake up the next day, and again, they say, now you've got to watch it one more time. I said, no, I'm not watching it one more time. I waited 2 weeks before I watched it again. Because just because they're telling me to do stuff doesn't mean I'm going to do it, because I'm too stubborn, right? So finally, 2 weeks later, I watch it, and this time the gray alien's back, and I see him, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell just happened? And then they download me the next day, and they say, we wanted you to understand how extensive the mind control is here, and we want you to call Jack Roth, and we want you to tell him what you experienced. And I did. I called Jack and I said, Jack, how many people at the theater in Florida when you premiered the movie came running out and said, oh my God, I saw a gray alien for the first time? And he goes, you know, it was so weird you're asking me that, because we couldn't figure out why nobody really said anything to us about it. And I said, you're not going to believe this, but the ETs had just told me that only people that are contactees and only people that are open-minded enough or whatever can actually see that alien because of the mind control dampening field that they have over the planet, over every human's mind. And Jack is like, I just can't even fathom that. I said, I couldn't either until they did it to me. They actually showed me what it was like to be a person that has no contact, no abilities, no psychic, no this, no whatever, and to see that movie. Maybe you just don't see it. It's kind of like that whole thing about the Spanish Armada showing up in South America, and the guys are like, we don't even know what we're looking at, so we can't see it. I mean, I think that's how extensive the mind control goes.
That's amazing. And that's just from an extraterrestrial level. So we got about 3 minutes to go before we have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Lorien Fenton is our guest tonight. Lorien, there's so much debate right now about aliens, disclosure, and what do they want from us? Are they NHIs? Are they interdimensional? Are they time travelers? What's the inside scoop here? Where are they coming from?
Well, that's interesting because I think they're all of the above. This is a huge problem in the community too. I mean, I'm sitting here analyzing all of your questions, and the problem is it's very like 10th dimensional. Like there's grays to reptilians, from angels to demons. There's everything in between. There's different sizes of grays, different versions of them. There's mantis beings. There's ones that look like humans that are probably living here among us and wondering why their rent is so high. And, I mean, I think there's everything out there. So the problem is they each have their own agenda. So who are we afraid of, and who is the military afraid of? That's my only question about that. My question around that whole question that you just asked me, like they're time travelers or they're this or that. The question is, does it really matter? Maybe we should just figure out who's wanting to hurt us and go from there. And I think that has a lot to do with what's going on with disclosure too, because I think the guys that are working on disclosure have met the ones that don't like us very much. And I think they're very concerned, so.
I think there's a lot of concern going on, but should we be afraid?
I don't think so. I'll tell you why. I mean, maybe there is a good reason to be afraid, but I haven't been up against it yet personally. I've been very fortunate. I have never been afraid of my contact, ever. Every time they've shown up as a beautiful woman that walked through my wall. I mean, kind of like the Chris Bledsoe story, the white lady. Mine was a pink lady. She had a pink dress on with gold, and she was absolutely amazing, and the love that came from her was mind-boggling, and she talked to me for a long time. And honestly, I can't remember much of what she said except for the same thing. It's like, you've got a lot of work to do here and you've got to tell people about us and, that kind of thing. And then they just leave, I mean, I don't get probed on a table or anything. I've never had that happen. Now I take that back. Maybe it's happened, but I don't remember anything about it. And frankly, I don't want to know, I'm one of those people. I just like to remember the good times, So I guess I'm partial to that.
I'm partial to it anyways, because you never know when ET contact is going to happen. That's the thing. Here we are. We're trying to make sure that we can figure out everything, but we never know when them damn aliens are going to show up.
That's right.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like at least give us a schedule. Give us a call. A text message. With all the internet and everything like there, you think that they could just send a little text over and say, hey, we'll see you at about 3:45 a.m.
That would be nice.
Lorien, we're going to continue this awesome conversation when we return on Spaced Out Radio, as we're about to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We love talking aliens and secret space program with Lorien Fenton. out of San Francisco, California. The leader of UFOCon, the leader of many things around our field and science of woo. We love it. We love her. We're glad she's here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. All right, my dear, we're clear.
Okay. So where is everybody tonight? I don't see the chat. I'm not on YouTube. That's why I don't see it.
If you look down, or are you on a computer or on your phone?
I'm on a computer.
Okay, so if you go in the upper right corner, private chat.
Yes.
Right beside that, it'll say comments or something along those.
Oh, there they are.
There they are. Oh, little Debbie's here. Hi, little Debbie, and thank you for that lovely.
Hi, Eugene.
Yes. Eugene Braxton, one of the coolest dudes ever.
Yeah.
Amber Dawn Glover, the pride of 100 Mile right there. Hold on. There we go.
I'm going through this. I'm scrolling.
Me too. I'm scrolling up. And on Facebook, let us say hello to our good friend Jackie Harmon, One Shin, who went and got herself a beautiful Spaced Out Radio tank top ready for Reno, Nevada. Lorien's going to come to Reno with us.
I am. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
No, Sparkles Parker, Pauline Byrne, if you're still listening, say hi to Pooh for me. Pooh's their dog. I love that dog, Pooh. And Susan Lawrence, the pride of Indiana, right there. Excellent. And Digger Dog, good night. And, wow. It always amazes me, the algorithms on this. The minute I put Aliens and Secret Space Program on the title, which we're going to talk about, there's like massive amount of people watching live. So if you're new, hit subscribe, ring that bell. We'd greatly appreciate it. We'd like to hit 25,100 by the end of the year. Phyllis Boucher Perry, how are you? And the lovely and talented Kim Jellin. Unfortunately, Lorien cannot be on camera tonight because she's using a work computer, and she was a last-minute fill-in for Geraldina Roscoe, who is very ill right now, but she'll be better very soon. So Lorien is stuck at work for the next 90 minutes, having to hang out with us, and they don't have a camera on their computer, so that's the reason why. Let's see. Michael Gutierrez, how are you? Dirteth, Filtheth. Let's take a look at what you're doing here. Hold on. Any Blob? Where's Blob?
Blob is currently downstairs, passed out with the gargoyle.
Does she not know that it's showtime?
Well, I tried to say something, and I even gave her snacks, but
See, that's a problem with famous cats, man. They just, they get a little bit of fame, and the next thing you know, they're not showing up for duty. They're acting like Axl Rose back in the 90s when he wouldn't show up for concerts.
that's pretty much it. It's like,
Matt
I
Geek,
was sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. Well, tell her that we're not happy with those types of decisions around here, if you don't mind.
Well, I'll try to pass on the message, but
yeah, if you don't mind, we'd appreciate that.
The gargoyle's pretty rowdy security.
Yeah, damn gargoyle.
Hi, Cryptid 559. My shout out to you guys.
Oh yeah, I love Javier. He is such a classy dude. Javier, I hope you can make it to Reno.
I do too. I want to see you guys.
Yeah, me too.
See who else is here. Who's Peppa?
That's Peppa H. Oh, Nicole Sackich, how are you? Good to see you.
Hey, Nicole.
Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, Javier's pretty badass. He's a good dude.
I like the swag. He's got comparable swag to Spaced Out Radio.
You know what? I have one of his coffee mugs, like his travel mugs. He sent me one, and I get so many compliments on that. Where did you get that? I'm like, I said, that's Javier, man. You got to know Javier. You got to have inside pull there. Right?
You do.
Mm-hmm. Hold on. We got 8 seconds here, everybody. Thank you to Foxy Joe, T-Bone, and Deb for the super chats. Here we go at the next half hour, everybody. Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on tonight, Aliens and Secret Space Program with Lorien Fenton tonight. And Lorien, thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate you taking the time.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate you having me. It's great. And I think we should all say a little prayer for Geraldine, just so she knows we all love her at once. It'll hit her.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, anyhow.
We're talking aliens here, and you mentioned that you thought aliens would be time travelers. Has Lorien Fenton ever talked to a time traveler?
I probably have. And I know that sounds crazy, you guys, but I've had a time travel experience where I heard myself come in the front door of my house. I heard myself talking on a cell phone. I heard my high heels clacking on the floor. I knew I was wearing a dress, and I don't hardly ever wear dresses anymore, which is kind of weird. And I knew that I had a job working for a computer company that I was almost going to work for many, many years ago, but that I had risen up in the ranks, and I had gone there, and I've been there for like 15 years at this point. I knew all this, okay, as I'm walking in the front door, as I'm laying in bed half asleep, okay? And I heard myself go into the kitchen. I heard myself make tea, make coffee or whatever. I heard the water boiling. And then I started waking up fully. And I was kind of in that half awake stage where I talked to my ETs. And it was so bizarre. You guys, you have no idea how crazy that was. I mean, listening to myself, talk to other people about work and just this whole like existence I had that was just like 1/10 of the dimension over to the left, you know, how do I know? And it was so crazy. And I'm living in the same house, and it's just, oh my God, it was so nuts. Now I have had I don't know what this guy was, but I will tell you this. I was in Portland, Oregon. It was many years ago. I was working at a Fred Meyer Garden Center, and I used to have 4 days on for 40 hours a week and 3 days off. And one night after I got home after my 4th day, I'm waking up again, and my ETs tell me I've got to drive to Victoria, BC, Columbia from Portland, Oregon to pick up somebody. And I went, what? I mean, that was the weirdest one I had so far, right? Like, I got to drive to Victoria, BC and pick up somebody. And I'm like, who? And they don't talk to me anymore. Then it's just like, it's dead silence, you know, radio silence at that point. So I'm like, and I'm really compelled to do it. That was even weirder about the whole thing. So I packed up the car, I grabbed a couple of friends, And I said, we're going on a road trip. We'll be back on, Monday or, what I think it was Thursday night or early Friday morning when the transmission came. So by Friday, about 12 noon, I had gathered my friends, 2 other guys, and I said, we're going to Victoria. I'm going to Victoria. You want to come along? They're like, sure, why not? So I drive up to Port Townsend, I think it is, and I catch the ferry over from Washington up to Victoria, and it starts raining cats and dogs. And I'm like, okay, you guys, what am I doing here? I go over by the Queen's Hotel. I'm hanging out in places I know about, right? So I'm kind of just hanging out, and then suddenly they say, go downtown and go stand on this corner. I'm like, what? Okay. So I go hang out on this corner, and about 1 minute after I get there, this guy walks up to me. He's a little short guy. He's Canadian. He's older. And I don't have a clue who this guy is. And he walks up to me and says, are you Lorien? I said, yes. He goes, well, they told me to be here at this intersection at this time to meet you, and that you were giving me a ride to California. And I said, I'm not giving you a ride to California. I'll give you a ride to Portland, Oregon, and then you got to make it the rest of the way. He goes, that's fine. I said, where are you from? He goes, honestly, I couldn't tell you right now. I was like, what? So anyhow, I get in the car with this dude. I've never seen this guy before in my life. I know nothing about him. And he starts talking about different eras in time, like the 1800s, the 1600s. He says the future is going to be bleak. And I'm like, what do you mean bleak? And we have this whole conversation about all these different times, all the way driving back to Portland, Oregon. We get to my house. He goes, was that the freeway exit back there? And I said, yeah. And I said, don't you want to, get some food or something before you hitchhike? He said, no, I don't want any food. I don't want anything. Thank you for the lift. And he goes, maybe someday I'll see you again. And I went, okay. And then he walked back a couple blocks back to the freeway exit because I lived near it, and never saw the guy again. But weird. It was so strange, Dave. I'm telling you, and this is an honest to God true story. I mean, this is my life. It's like this all the time. The weirdest stuff happens to me. And I'm like, okay, and all those dang ETs talking to me in my head. It's like, they tell me things to do. They fight with me. They take away, like my ability to remember certain things, and then they put it back. It's like, why did they do that to me? I can't figure it out. I think they're just messing with me. Yeah, there are lots of Canadians in Canada. I should have. Well, he had a Canadian accent. That's only what I shouldn't have said he was Canadian from Canada, but
just can't trust them Canadians, man.
You can't trust him. I mean, I think he was a time traveler. I really do. He was so odd. He wouldn't even fit in now. He was so odd. This was back in 70, God, it might have been 75, 76. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, that is amazing. Have you studied the time travel program to the extent where you believe that we have this capability to do it? I think at jump rooms, I know you used to chat with Andrew Bishago and people like that who claim that they're chrononaut jump rooms out there. I mean, this ties into, weird technology that we don't even think we have.
Well, I will tell you guys all this. For my next MUFON meeting, Andy Bishago is my guest. So if you guys want to, if you're in the Bay Area, come on down and meet Andy. We may be starting a thing where anybody out of California can Zoom in with us. We might be trying that this month or next month. So we'll see. But anyhow, back to whether I believe it or not, or have dealt with it, or talked to the people about it. I have talked to a gazillion people. And I'm very good friends with Marshall Barnes. I don't know if you know about Marshall, but
who's Marshall Barnes?
He is I would say he's the preeminent guy working on time travel right now. he has promised me that since I'm his good friend, that he would let me get back to 1972. Now, the only problem with traveling back to 1972 that I know of right now is the fact that I don't get to regress in age. When you time travel, you go with the age you are. Even if you go to the past, you're still, 65 years old if you go back there. But here's the kicker. In 1975, I was 18 years old. So there's an 18-year-old version of me back in 1975 or 72 where I'm 15, or whatever. So Marshall and I are trying to come up with a plan where I don't run into myself.
You gotta help me get him on this show.
Oh, sure. He was just on. I just got him on Coast a little while ago. He was great. I
want to have him on this show. I love time travel.
That's
one of my ultimate favorite subjects. Like when we.
I believe it's real. And now you're talking to me about these jump rooms and all that. I believe they have something. I can't say I believe that it's all physical time travel. Okay. I know enough about mind control and the levels they got it to in the 40s, 50s, and 60s that I believe what they're doing is they're actually taking your consciousness and putting you into another time or dimension. And they have the capability of doing that because look at all the phenomena that acid will do, that DMT will do, that ayahuasca will do. I think they're going off of that type of science and they're taking you in a consciousness state to another timeline or dimension. And you may think it's time travel, but it may just be that you're, slipping into a different dimension. And who's to say that time isn't dimension as well? Okay. So let's say I want to go back to 1972. Well, how do we know that isn't just another dimension that existed in that time space, but it's really happening right now at the same time? So all I got to do is tap into that frequency of what that was in 72 that still exists. I hope I'm making sense here, but anyhow.
What do you think would happen if you actually ran into yourself?
Well, now that is so interesting. Now I gotta tell you the craziest story. I forgot about this. Okay, I'm having a MUFON meeting and I've got a guy named Mike Davis. He's a major contactee here in my little town of Petaluma. His car's been picked up and put in a field. He's had aliens around in his barn his whole life. They show up on his TV. I mean, this guy is like a major contactee, right? So he comes to my MUFON meeting and he's going to speak, and his wife and he show up and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh my God, what are you doing here?" And I said, "What? I never met this guy in my life, right? I just found out about him on Facebook or something, right?" So he goes, "Yeah, well, whatever happened to your shop in Sebastopol? How are you doing?" I said, "I've never met you before." He goes, "Yeah, you were my mom. You were one of my mom's best friends." He goes, "You look really good." I go, "What do you mean I look really good?" He goes, "Well, gosh, aren't you 70 now or something?" And I'm like, no, I was 59 at the time I met him. And he goes, "Oh my God, you look great." I'm like, "Okay." And I was totally blown away. He goes, "No, you used to have a shop in Sebastopol. I know it." And I go, "What kind of shop?" He goes, "Tie-dyes and beads." I'm like, "Yeah, I would have a shop of tie-dye t-shirts and beads. Of course I would." So anyhow, he says, "Yeah, no, my mom and you were good friends. I just wish she was still alive. I'd love for her to see you again." I'm like he goes, "You're Lorien, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I swear to you." He goes, "I'll go find a picture of your shop and my mom and you talking." I said, "Okay, great." So he went home, and sure enough, a month later, he comes back to see me and he goes, here's a picture. He goes, "I couldn't get obviously I didn't get your face. I got my mom's face, and I got the backside of you sitting down in the shop." And I'm like, "Oh my God. I swear to God, Dave, it's my hair, it's my body, it's me. And I look like I do now, but I can tell it's I know it's my hair." Okay. So now this goes back to, now you're going to love this. back when I moved here in 1970, God, I don't remember what year it was. It must have been 76 or I think it was 80. Yeah, it was 1980 I moved to California.
I was 7.
You were 7? You were a baby. I was like 20-something years old. Anyhow, so I was dating this guy, and he said, I used to live in Sebastopol. Is that your mom that runs that shop there? And I was like, he goes, you sure look like her. And I'm like, no. And I've always thought that was weird. And then I picked up a hitchhiker out at the coast one day about a year or two later. And he got in my Volkswagen Bug and he goes, oh, Lorien, how are you doing? I'm like, what? So apparently I must have time traveled back to Sebastopol in 1970 something when I was a little older than I am now. And I have a tie-dye shop with beads and everything. And all these people knew me. And I kept thinking there was a girl that looked like me that everybody's getting me mixed up with that had my same name. But now, years later, I'm like going, God, I'm sure it happened. So what I've got to do, though, just to be absolutely sure, I've got to go find the business roles for Sebastopol during those years to see who owned that tie-dye shop.
Wow. That is so either really coincidental, you have a doppelganger.
Right.
Or...
That's what I kept thinking. But now that I'm dealing with Marshall, and the first thing I told Marshall, without even thinking about it, without even realizing about the tie-dye shop in Sebastopol, I said to him, I want a goat farm in Sebastopol. That's what I want to do in 1972. So maybe I had a goat farm too, and nobody talked about it. They just talked about the tie-dye shop.
I can't see you with a goat farm. I'm sorry, I cannot.
Well, I love my goats. I will have my goat farm. It'll happen. If I go back now, I have more knowledge about what I want, so I'll have the tie-dye shop and the goat farm.
At least you're successful. That's the main thing.
Well, I must have made it. So who knows? I mean, it's like craziness. I'm telling you. And I've never talked about this before. It's the first time I've ever told anybody about it on air.
I love it. Yes. Yes, these types of, see, this is why I do this show, is these types of stories right here that just push the imagination to all the strange limits that it could take. And you know, we have 7 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Lorien Fenton is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Lorien, you know, with the time travel aspect of everything, do you think that the United States government or any government of the world or scientists have a time travel machine? Like, could you walk into a little portal that spins like Austin Powers, or maybe it's a phone booth like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? What do you think?
I think they have it. I really do. But I think it's a little more, and you know, I tell everybody this all the time, and I'm going to use the example of the mind control here just for a second. There's the movie Manchurian Candidate, the second one that was made with Denzel Washington. And it was very, at the beginning, I say this all the time, at the very beginning of that movie, you're seeing belly dancers and snakes and colored lights. And they think they're having this whole fantasy thing. And then at the very end of the movie, they go back to that island where they were all programmed. And it's just a white room. And they're all wearing white clothes, and they're in a medical facility. And I think that what we make it out to be this big glorious thing, right? Where I think you just walk into a room and sit down into this like medical device chair, and the next thing you know, you're not here, you know, kind of thing. I think it's that simple, because when we were abducted at the Fiesta Hotel back in 2013, I think it was 13, I was having my second mind control conference, and 15 of us were taken down we were drugged and taken down to the loading dock area. And they had 2 Ryder trucks outfitted as clean room medical spaces. And if you go online, you can actually find those trucks to this day. Now, I didn't believe any of this happened. It took me almost 8 months before I didn't go on a radio show and tell the radio host that the person telling them about that abduction was out of their mind. Okay. I literally would go, one of the people that was abducted would go on a show and tell the whole story. Right. And then I get booked the next night and I tell them that was all a lie. I mean, I was so adamant not to let people think those kind of things really happened. And then I'm sitting there, and I do want to tell the story. How much time do we have?
We got about 4.5 minutes.
Okay, I can do this. Melinda Leslie calls me up in September. I had the mind control conference. Yeah, it was September, October, whatever. And he had the mind control conference like in April or May. And she calls me and says, Lorien, I haven't been able to sleep since your conference. I'm so freaked out from being abducted that night. And I said, Melinda, come on, really? I said, don't even start with me. I said, I've been doing damage control, trying to tell everybody it's a bunch of lies. I said, come on, please don't do this to me. Yeah, I said, you're my best friend. Don't do this to me. She goes, no, you've got to hear about it. I haven't been able to turn the lights out since then. When I go to bed at night, I go, really? She goes, I go, oh, I'm sorry. She goes, well, look, listen to my story and just listen to it. I said, okay. So I'm listening to her tell about how the whole abduction happened for her and what happened during the abduction. And she starts to describe what the guy was wearing that was leaning over her and gave her that shot of scopolamine or whatever they gave us all. And the minute she started describing what he looked like, I had like this major flashback. I could see this guy over me. And I said, wait, don't tell me what he was wearing. And then I told her what he was wearing. She goes, oh my God, that's exactly what he was wearing. I'm like, oh no. And then she starts talking about what happened downstairs. And I said, oh my God. As soon as she started talking about standing over on the loading dock area, being told to wait up against the wall, I said, oh my God, the wall was concrete. She goes, yeah, it was. And I said, I could feel my hands behind my back holding up against the wall, and it's cold and it's concrete. She goes, oh yeah, it was. She goes, do you remember anything else? And I said, oh my God. I said, I remember talking to you. She goes, yeah, do you remember what you said? And I said, oh yeah, I remember. Because she said to me, oh my God, they're abducting us again. And I looked at her and I said, no one's ever going to effing believe this. No one's ever going to effing believe it. And the person that wasn't going to effing believe it was me. Right? And I remembered saying that to her as this whole thing was taking place. Because her and I were standing right next to each other. So it was wild. It was just wild.
Totally wild. We got about 90 seconds to go before we go to break here. Lorien, as we continue on with the time travel, we'll take it right to the top here.
Yeah, and the reason I told that story is because it bleeds into the next part of it.
Oh, there's part 2.
Part 2.
Oh my. I didn't know there was a part 2 here. Okay, well, let me ask you this then. Who do you think knows about these time travel aspects? Do you think there's a certain sect in the government, much like there is with UFOs, that is concentrating on time travel?
Yes, absolutely. But these guys, just like the UFO guys and the alien dudes, they are all very compartmentalized, and very few of them know the whole story altogether. I mean, we still have to break that ceiling, or I say the alien floor, of the craft, to get to who actually runs all of this. I think we have a bunch of new players in the game because a lot of them have died. So, but whether they know the whole truth is another whole story. Alan, Stanton, and Carl.
Oh,
sorry, I got distracted for a second.
Yep. That's exactly our dirty filth right there. We got about 20 seconds to go here. And why do you think, I want you to answer this question. Why do you think people are so enthralled with time travel? And I want you to answer that when we return from the break here, because so many people. So many people love this topic of time travel. And personally, I do believe there are time travelers walking around this planet right now. Where they are, what they're doing, I have no idea. I know they're not in my house. That's for sure. At least when I'm awake. Spaced Out Radio with Lorien Fenton as our special guest tonight continues with hour number 2. More time travel, secret space program coming up on the show. Beauty, we are clear. Clear.
Okay, I got to go over and read.
Yes, you go read. I'm going to put Dirty Phil up here.
Oh, Dirty Filth, I love what you're doing. I don't know what it is, though. Who's Alan, Stanton, and Carl? Is that Stanton Friedman and Carl? I know Carl's Dave's buddy.
Or that could be Carl Chung.
Okay.
No,
Well, you got 2 and 3
names, and he's unmuted. People, he's
There it
unmuted.
is. Dirty Filth. So tell me who Alan, Stanton, and Carl are.
They're 3 gray aliens. They hang out the space bar. They always try to come up with ideas to make coin, and unfortunately, it doesn't work for them. And they're
That's too bad.
yeah, but
Carl looks pretty happy though. The other 2 look kind of dazed and confused.
Carl's kind of a bully and he's a cheapskate. It's the type of alien that'll back his UFO into your car and not tell you about it.
Yeah, I think that Dave had some kind of like his fence got burned or something, if I remember correctly.
Something like that.
Now,
And
wait. Who's Alan and Stanton?
Well, Stanton for Stanton Friedman.
Okay, I got
little
that
nod
right.
there.
Is it J. Allen
Alan.
Hynek?
Correct.
Oh God, I can't believe I got those right. Hey, do I get a prize?
Get my email from Dave. I'll send you a drawing.
You'll send me a drawing of this? Cool. Well, better yet, are you coming to the party in Reno?
There's a possibility.
If you show up, just bring it then, because I'll be there.
But I always like sending things over the mail. It's always hit and miss. Plus, you get to scribble things in a. Anyways, but I'll just do both.
Well, I just love this. I think it's great. I really do. I think it's wonderful.
Here's the one I drew yesterday.
Okay, let's see that. Oh my God. Oh my God. The humans call it Reaper pepper. Looks spicy. Oh, cool. That's wonderful. Oh, the Tic Tac and the TR3B and the little regular alien UFO have a prominent place in all of their all of your shots here. Now, what I'm curious about though is, God, Ghost Hunter. Oh God, that's too funny. What I'm curious about is, do each one of them fly those? Is that their gig? Like he drives the Tic Tac and the other guy drives the TR3B and the other one drives the regular UFO?
Yeah, they've all got old stuff, especially Carl. His old UFO, it still runs on diesel. And he's got the like pull cord to start the thing like an old lawnmower.
Did you do a drawing of his older UFO? You got to do that someday.
I do have one. It's actually buried. It's in last year's stuff, so I'll dig it out.
That is funny as heck. I love it.
But yeah, Carl's got the old diesel powered guy. He's gonna like pull the chain a couple times, and
and the guy driving the Tic Tac has no windows though. He doesn't get to see.
That's why he's insane.
Yeah, I guess so. That's why he's got the Reaper spice pepper going on.
Well, Alan's diving right into it, so
there we go.
See, and look at that. You switch it over. There they are, trying to be normal aliens.
Good luck with that.
Well,
now, how come the bar has so many creepy little bugs and spider webs? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't know. They don't have space spiders.
Oh yeah, they do actually. Supposedly, there's a lot of insect type ETs out there. There's a lot of them. Apparently, I mean, we got the mantis beings. Think of that. You know, could you imagine a big spider coming after you? I heard that in South America at one point they actually landed, and they were about 9 feet across.
Yikes.
I don't know
What
if
about
it's all
humanoid
real.
sharks that walk on the land?
You know,
No.
there used to be sharks that walked on the land.
Nope. Let's not even go there.
Okay,
Dave
good night,
can't
Dave.
handle it. He's like, no, I live too close to the ocean. You don't even live close to the ocean.
I'm 5 hours away from the ocean, and that is close enough.
Oh, God.
You know how many lakes and rivers connect to that ocean around here? They could be in the lakes right now.
They could be, and they probably are, looking for you.
Mhm. That's right. That's absolutely right. Don't need any of them sharks. Dirty Filth, another great job tonight. Thank you, buddy. Blob is pulling an ego tonight and not wanting to come on in. So Filth is going to go have a talk with her.
And Blob is the cat, right?
Blob is the cat, yes. Dirty Filth, quickly before you go, Matthew Gutka would like to know when you're going to put out a new book. Because you already got one book out, Volume 1, of Cryptid Cartoons, a collection of drawings for those of us that wear tinfoil hats. He's not answering. All right, here we go with hour number 2, everybody. Stay tuned, Lorien.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us on in if you like all the weird, strange topics that we talk about on a nightly basis. And we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. To tournament is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on tonight. Aliens, time travel, secret space program. Lorien Fenton is with us tonight. Lorien, thank you for being here. And you have another story that you want to share with us regarding time travel.
Yeah, you were talking about the whole time travel scenario, and I was pretty much saying that I think I'm probably a time traveler, but who knows, because of the craziness that happened when I moved here, and then realizing that people were thinking I was Lorien from the past, right? And so it's kind of crazy. But then I had that experience at the conference, my mind control conferences, where we were being taken and we were drugged and we were actually all examined. There were about 15 of us that were actually taken down. And one of the things that happened during that experience that I still trying to figure out why it happened and what happened, but 2 of the people that were taken said that they were doing what they called their tune-ups on us. Now, because like Misha Johnson asked them, she said, "What are you doing to me? Why are you doing it now?" Because she got regressed to find out what happened during the abduction. And they said, "Oh, honey, we're just giving you your yearly checkup, you know." And then 2 other people asked why they were doing what they were doing, because everybody's freaked out, apparently, when we're all sitting in the chair being abducted. And two of the people got the answer back that they had to recalibrate them for this time. And that's why I told you guys all the story, because who knows what they're doing with us, recalibrating us for this time. So that means that maybe two of the people in that group of all those mind control people that got on stage at my conference were actually time travelers, because that's what you asked me, is do I know any time travelers? I think I probably do.
Oh my. That is just way too weird.
It is weird. And one of them died shortly thereafter, and I don't know what happened to the other one. I can't find him.
So they just disappeared.
I think the one guy just disappeared. The other guy I know did die, because we do have, his body was there. I mean, we know he died. But the other guy, I cannot find him. I don't know what happened. It's like he dropped off the face of the planet.
Wow. Or went forward in time.
Yeah, or back in time. I mean, because, I'll tell you something, Dave. Everybody I've talked to that wants to time travel, not one of them wants to go to the future. Everybody wants to go back to a great time in their life and just be, and all three of the ones that I'm talking to right now that are dealing with Marshall, they all want to go back to a time before computers took over everything. Now,
that I can understand.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we're all over 60 years old, every one of those people, and they all say to a T, including me, is that I love my computer, but I want to go back to the days where I was reading a book. I really love those times. So,
well, it would make sense. I mean, let's face it. As much as they've tried to simplify life, I think they've more so made it a little bit more complicated. That's for sure. But oh man.
Well, Nicole is saying here that she knows people who want to go to the future. That's pretty cool.
See, I don't know whether I would want to travel back in time or forward in time. I think it's yeah. Because
I feel comfortable in the past, but my curiosity would be like, well, if I could pop into the future for just 10 minutes. That'd be cool, because I like to see what happens. And hey, what if I decide I like it? What if it is better than my past? But Marshall's telling me, he says, Lorien, you've got to make a decision, and that's where you got to go. There's none of this, I want to pop into one time and pop back and see how I like it. He hasn't perfected that yet.
See, the only thing that I would be worried about is what timeline do you go to? Because if there are multiple timelines, how do you know you're going to get to the right timeline by just jumping forward? And same as if you're traveling back. Let's say you go forward in time and you want to return back to where we are now. How do you know you're going to get back to this timeline?
Well, now this is interesting you asked me that question, because I've asked the ETs that several times, and I've gotten two different answers out of them, which kind of upset me. But maybe I'm talking to two different ETs. I don't know. But the first one told me the answer to that is it all depends on your consciousness, your conscious decision about the time you were at. You can go forward and back to a time you were and then get back to the time you came from. It's a lot harder to go to the future that you haven't existed in already, because you don't have a reference point to what it's like, and you don't have the ties in the frequency bandwidth that you've already put in there in time. I know that sounds really weird, but it's like it exists with us right now. And everything I've done in the past is already done, and it's coexisting with me as I sit here in the present, right? And I know what it is. I was there. I experienced it. I know that I crashed my mom's 1967 Camaro that I loved dearly and put in the auto shop, and all my guy friends swooped it up for me and made it like a supercharged car. It was really cool. And I know that I experienced that crash. What if I decide to go back to that time and not let myself drive that night, Then I'd still have that 1967 Camaro, right? But I know all that. And if I go to the future, I don't know what kind of car I'm driving or where I'm at or what I'm doing. So That's what they basically told me, is that it's a lot easier to get back to the past and get back to where you are now because it's already imprinted in a way. Okay. It's much harder to go to the future.
Weird. So weird. I'd like to go to the future just to see the technology. Okay. Like, what kind of airplanes do we have? Are we able to travel to the moon or Mars or wherever? I would love to see that. I would love to be able to see, a lot of the aspects. What does a McDonald's cheeseburger taste like?
It's probably cricket burgers by then. Cricket burgers. I love it. So you have like Doug burgers.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not. But that's kind of what I look for. But in the past, I think, there are times where I think I would like to see, I would like to, go back in numerous different timelines, from the Egyptian pyramids to watching great movies. I'd love to be able to go back to, old school New York City, where everybody wore, like every gentleman wore a suit and a fedora.
Oh my God. Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Love that.
You know where I want to go? I've been telling everybody this. I want to go to the 1980 Olympics where the U.S. Hockey team won over the Russians. That's where I want to be.
Do you believe in miracles? Yes.
That was so amazing. And guess what? If I do go back to 1972, I hopefully I'll be alive long enough to get to that game. You
know what? I'll tell you a little. You remember the movie Miracle on Ice?
I don't think I ever saw it, Dave. Oh my God.
You should. It's incredible. But the hockey rink that they use, because that was filmed all in the greater Vancouver area. The hockey rink that they use, I played on most of those, including my hometown rink, which was used as one of their practice facilities in Lake Placid.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Now I'm going to watch it with, a bigger influx because I've actually driven up to where you live.
Yeah.
So I have an idea. But, my whole dream life really was to move to Surrey. Many years ago, if I hadn't stayed in Portland and gone to California, I would have been living in Surrey, BC.
Oh, you don't want to live there.
Why?
The food is great. The people are great. But some areas have turned a little slummy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, back in the day, back in the 80s, when I was thinking about moving there, it was beautiful. A lot of farms. That's all it really was farms back then.
Yeah, most of the farms are gone now.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, anyhow, maybe I got to time travel back there and make sure the farms don't go away. Maybe that's my job.
Right? Maybe that's what you got to do. Let's switch over to the secret space program here.
Oh, yeah. Well, what I told you guys about being abducted at the mind control conference, it has a lot to do with the secret space program, because 4 of the men that were at that conference speaking, and I can't say their names now, but you guys all know one of them. I can't say his name. That's Max Spears. He's no longer with us. He had professed to me that he was part of the secret space program. And I honestly, to be honest with all of you guys, back when I was doing the mind control conferences, the first one I did was about the mind control that was part of the secret space program and part of the mind control that they were using on people that had nothing to do with being a Manchurian Candidate type of person. Example, I don't know if you've had Solaris Blue Raven on your show, but the what now?
Not for years.
Yeah, I mean, her story is absolutely mind-boggling. It goes way beyond Kathy O'Brien and all of the women that were used as supposedly mind control butterfly monarch women, right? And that's what I was focusing on during those conferences, was not that you were in the secret space program, but that you were actually a mind control victim. And I also included targeted individuals and people that had worked on these programs, like Robert Duncan. Have you had him on the show?
No.
Oh my God. Amazing person. Absolutely amazing. He's written 3 books on the subject. He was the guy that in the Jesse Ventura Conspiracy Theory TV show, they did the mind control show. And during that show, he was the last person to show up being interviewed. And he had figured out, by the time he left the Department of Defense, he had figured out that his technology that he was developing was being used in voice-to-skull communication. Okay? Now, do you know about what they did in Gulf War I with voice-to-skull communication? Okay, I'm just going to throw this out there so everybody understands that our government has had voice-to-skull communication for quite a while now, and they deployed it in the early 90s in Gulf War I, and here's how it works. There was 200, is it Iraqi? I don't remember who we were fighting at the time. I think it was Iraq. Anyhow, there's a bunch of guys out there from the opposing army, and we have a truck, and we have 5 guys, literally 5. Maybe it was 10, but I know there were 5 guys in one of the like tank trucks. And maybe they had a second one, I don't know. But mounted on the front of that is a big satellite dish. It looks like, the dish antenna you get for your house, but it's 5 or 6 feet in diameter. And these guys roll up about 100 yards or maybe less. Maybe it had to be 50. I can't remember the exact technical specs of how close they had to be to broad stream this microwave command. But they sent out this command over this kind of radio wave, frequency wave, and every one of those 200 soldiers heard in their head, the Americans are here to help you. Allah wants you to surrender. Go to the Americans and give up your arms, get down on your knees, and pray to Allah for thanks, or something along those lines, okay? And every one of those 200 men heard this in their head, thought it was Allah talking to them, and they got on their knees and they surrendered to 5 guys. There's 200 of them and 5 or maybe 10, but it was literally 1/5 or 1/10 of the amount of soldiers there were, and they marched these guys straight off to prison camp. And guess what, folks? That's how it got Voice of God communications, is because of that incident when they deployed it for the very first time with our army. Is voice to, the voice to skull or voice of God communication. That's where it coined it, because all of these guys thought they were talking to Allah, or Allah was talking to them. So anyhow, just thought you guys might want to know. And that's a proven story. It's been written about in Department of Defense papers. It's not classified anymore. You look it up on the internet and you'll find it. And just try to find it and get the story correct for me, because I have heard about it since the mid-90s, and it's probably changed a whole bunch in how I tell it, but it's very close to that. Very, very close to that story. I don't think I've embellished it much over the years at all, because, can't embellish a story like that. It's pretty much what it is. So the reason I'm telling you guys all that is because everybody I know in the secret space program, every one of them has told me that at some point in their life, when they first get in the military, here's the first thing that happens. They're brought into their troop room or wherever the very first day, the very first hours. They all sit down in this room, and the room is really hot, okay? And the guy standing in front of them, talking to them and giving the demonstrations or the conference thing or, whatever they're doing, is talking in a drone voice, and he talks the same speed, and he just blah, blah, blah. And there's always a two-way mirror, and they're being observed. And the first guys that start passing out and falling asleep, they're picked for special assignment because they've just been hypnotized. And like some of them are not out in like a minute and a half. They're like, oh God, great. Okay, we love those guys, right? It's the ones that stay awake. They just put them back in regular army. The other 6 or 10 or whatever guys they need for these special operations, where they're going to hypnotize them into not remembering a damn thing they did. And this has been, okay, now I'm jumping ahead here, but the Army has decided that they don't want them remembering everything they've done. And there was programs going on that were classified all during the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s about how can we get these guys to not have PTSD when they come home. So the mind control started taking place, and I will lead up to the secret space program here in a second, but look at it this way. If you're part of a special forces group that's going to go in and kill women and children and what have you, okay, and you don't really want to be there doing it, and you hate yourself forever afterwards and usually kill yourself, what's the best thing the Army can do? Well, they can get you to forget you ever did it or not realize you ever did it. So I think that's how the secret space program mind control got passed over into our military now. I think that we had some type of mind control from ET to get our guys on a ship and not remember a damn thing they did, and maybe never remember ever. You know, they may think they're in Guatemala on a base for 6 months, and that's what their brain's telling them they were, but they may have been on a giant triangle flying around for 6 months, doing stuff. And I think this is absolutely plausible and very real, folks. I've seen the big black triangles that are ours. I know they're ours. And I've had some scientists that I can't even talk to you guys about verify with me that those are our triangles.
Okay, let's talk about those black triangles. So we got about 3.5 minutes to go here before we go to break, because I was told by an insider that there were 2 topics I couldn't talk with him about. Number 1, I couldn't talk to him about what happens on the moon. And number 2, anything to do with secret space program. If they are ours, where do you think they're landing?
The
where
moon.
do you think?
Obviously, they're going back and forth from the moon all the time. Now, Niara Isley, do you remember Niara? Do you know her story? Yeah, Niara's got the best story about being taken to the moon. And, she's actually being tortured up there, but that's another whole issue. But the point I'm trying to make is she was the first woman to ever come out and say, I was used by the military to go to the moon and do stuff and whatever. Anyhow, and as soon as she said that, I don't know what happened, but shortly after that, within 6 months, there were 3 men that came out and talked about it. I can't find any of them. I don't remember 2 of their whole names. They got on like Art Bell, or they got on other shows, and I'd heard them. And these are like super secret space program guys that swear they were going to Mars and the moon, and that Mars was actually quite blue, that the atmosphere was quite blue, the sky and everything. And we've discovered since that, this is like back in the early 90s, okay? We've discovered since their stories came out that the Mars actually does have an atmosphere, and it is a pale blue, and you can kind of see it like that. So, and I know we're up there. I just know it. I mean, there's just like no question in my mind after all the people that have told me they've traveled there and come back. I know it's real.
I'm a firm believer in the secret space program as well. Do I have proof? No. To me, it's a gut feeling. Okay. So I'm curious for you. Have you ever been given or shown proof of what's the word I'm looking for? Of the secret space program?
Well, now Melinda has a story, and I think I mentioned it here on the show, and I'm going to give you 3 examples here, okay? The first one is Melinda's story. She met this guy. Melinda works with a lot of these guys as contactees, and then once she finds out that they've gone through this whole mind wipe stuff and they are super soldiers, she sends them off to me afterwards, because then we have a lot to talk about, because I will not talk about it on radio, but I have an interview process with these guys that I go through, and we start digging in. Here's the biggest problem they have, Dave. They don't know what's real and what's not real. And so I help them try to figure out what's real and not real. That's my job. That's what I do. I don't talk about it much, but that's pretty much it. So if there's anybody out there who thinks that they've had this type of thing happen to them, and they want to figure out what was the reality and what wasn't, or at least come to a conclusion that, yeah, it did happen. And I've got people that believe in me, give me a call sometime, or email me first, obviously, at my website, which is my name, LorienFenton.com. And just email me and we'll get together and we'll chat about it. And maybe I can help you. I mean, I've helped a lot of people. I don't talk about that either much, but if you need some, guidance on how to come out about this, that's another whole issue. Because a lot of,
Lorien, hold on right there. We got Lorien Fenton for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, Secret Space Program, many other topics we will try to fit in our final 30 minutes. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Stay tuned. Mm-hmm.
I'll tell the Melinda thing, and then the other two that'll blow your mind. I've never talked about this on radio before, ever, not even on my show.
That's what I love about you. Every time you come on this show, you drop something new that you've never talked about before. I love it.
I don't know what you do to me, Dave. It's like true confessions here. I don't know.
Yep. That's what we do.
We
need a couch. We need a couch.
Yeah, we do need a couch. You gotta that would be a great set for you. Just to have your guest laid on the couch. You kind of look like Freud. That would be funny.
Yeah. That'd be cool. That would be cool.
Nicole says something about, what did she say? I don't know, Nicole. She said, yeah, I don't know. Something there about, yeah, okay. Dave has charms. Did you see that, Dave? You've got charms.
Always. No sovereign farts. Geraldine has not ducked SOR. She is ill right now. Okay. And, I'm not going into personal reasons why or whatever. So she never misses the show unless she is absolutely ill. Yeah. And like I said, everybody should just give her a little prayer. It never hurts. It always helps me when people pray for me when I'm not feeling good. Yeah. Exactamundo.
You're a secret whisperer. I like that, Nina. Good job. He's a secret whisperer.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I am. I can't wait to see you in Reno, my dear.
I know. It's going to be fun. I bought my new car. I'm going to drive it up, I think.
Nice. What'd you get?
I got a 2019, well, it's a used car, 2019 Toyota Corolla hatchback, and it had 29,000 miles on it when I got it, but now it's got 31 because I've driven it a lot.
Nice.
That's love awesome. My car. So cool.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. I was just looking at my Jeep today, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get it out. Can't wait.
Get it out where?
Oh, it's in my carport right now, but it's too cold because it's only a rag top. It's too
cold.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
So how's it going with your Bigfoot podcasting or your show?
Well,
Can we talk about it?
The filming part that we did?
Yeah.
Don't know yet. Apparently, we're just getting a sizzle reel ready.
Cool. Great.
Yeah, we may have to reshoot some parts.
That's okay.
Yeah. That's okay. Hi, Tokeland. How you doing? Yeah, if we have to, we have to.
Yeah. Maureen, yeah, my Corolla is wonderful. Let me tell you guys, how much time do we have?
You got a minute and a half.
Okay, in a minute and a half, I'm going to tell you guys my whole car story. I got the car because I listened to a guy on YouTube named Scotty Kilmer. I hope a lot of you listen to him. He's got over 4 million followers on YouTube. And he got on there one day and said, Toyota Corollas are the best cars ever made. And if you get a stick shift instead of that stupid CVT transmission they're all doing now, that'll last you forever. And I had to agree because I was driving around a 2002 Chevy Prism, and that Chevy Prism, when you opened up the engine, had a Toyota engine in it that was the same engine they put in the Corolla of that year. And the Fremont plant, the Toyota Fremont plant, made that Chevy Prism. Every 10 cars that came off of their ramp at that time was a Chevy Prism. It's a stripped down version of a Corolla, and I got it for $6,000 cheaper than a Corolla. So I had been driving for 300,000 miles on that Toyota engine, and I just love that car. And it was a stick shift, and it lasted forever. And so it took me, but here's the hard part. I couldn't find a stick shift. I had to drive to Arizona to get one. It was crazy.
Totally crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they're making those CVT transmissions. You know about those, right, Dave? Because you work in a car place, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And those CVT transmissions, it's like driving a marshmallow for me. I can't stand them.
Okay, hold on a couple seconds here because we are coming back in 10 seconds. And here we go. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Final half hour with our good friend Lorien Fenton. Secret Space Program is what we are talking about. Lorien, how long do you think the Secret Space Program has been in action?
Probably since the mid-'80s. That's about the time. At 82 was when the guys all got together at Denny's and started that whole Avery thing. And, you know, the MJ-12 stuff was pretty hot and heavy at the time. And I think that they were very close to Lockheed Martin and the Skunk Works at that time. And I believe, this is just Lorien's opinion here, from all the research I've done in the past, that Lockheed Martin was the people behind that engine that pilots this. Now you got to remember the aliens have given us some kind of energy device that propels that thing, and as we know, Stephen Greer has for years been trying to replicate whatever the aliens gave them to build this free energy device. But whatever propels that ship, I'm pretty sure it came out of Skunk Works, and I know those guys all knew about it. And I know that that was about the time that Area 51 was taken over by the CIA. And I think everything really fell into place there then at that time. And also, you got to remember, 5 or 6 years later, Bob Lazar shows up, and they've got all kinds of ships already, and they're trying to crack the engine on another ship. So I think Bob was actually let on there to leak out that information so they would think that we still don't know how to fly a craft or build one yet. Okay? That's my personal opinion, because I bet I found way too much information and little tiny segments of people talking on different radio shows that maybe have said a little too much that they shouldn't have said about Lockheed Martin. Okay, in the 80s, right, that they were doing stuff. Okay, now we were talking about time travel, a secret space program, and I wanted to bring up 3 stories for you guys, and they all correlate into the secret space program, and the guys that are actually the super soldiers that I consider the guys flying the ships. Okay, So the first story has to do with Melinda. Melinda has a guy that she's talking to, and he is in his parents' kitchen after 6 months of being home and out of the service. And he literally wakes up. He says he just woke up, and suddenly, the moment before that, he remembers being deployed in South America somewhere. And then the next moment, he's washing dishes at his mother's sink at his parents' home. And 8 months had gone by. Okay? So he doesn't know what's happened for the last 8 months. But he apparently got discharged from the Army or wherever service he was in. I don't remember. 6 months previous to him waking up in the kitchen. So 2 months still in the service in South America, has no recollection of what he did or how he did it or what was going on. Okay? So that's just an example of these guys when their programming starts to wear off. They suddenly are, they're awake, they know where they're at, but they may not remember what's happened to them. And that leads me to my next story. I spoke with a guy that remembers being on a ship, and he is working alongside ET, and they were the taller gray aliens. He said there were a few of the short guys, but mostly the taller grays, and he did see reptilians on the ship as well. But he thought it was all dreams. He thought he was going to bed at night and dreaming about it. And what we really did decide after talking about it at length for, over 6 months. I think we talked to each other about twice a month for 6 months. And we finally realized that it was probably all true because he started remembering going to the moon. And I had him call John Lear when he was still alive, and they talked a little bit about the moon base. And John had already spoken with many other gentlemen about the moon base. See, John never told anybody that he knew what that base looked like. And he never told it on purpose. And I don't blame him. I don't tell anybody what I know about it either. Because if I'm talking to a super soldier or a secret space program guy, I want him to tell me what it looks like. Because that way I'll know whether it's real or not, So these are kind of the things you got to do. But bottom line is, this guy, I swear to you, I know he was out there flying ships. I know he was. Now, the third guy, this isn't, you probably know the story. It's Terry Lovelace.
Yes.
Okay. Terry is speaking for my MUFON group. This is many years ago when his book first came out. Okay. He's talking to my MUFON group. And I said to him at the question and answer period at the end of his presentation, I said to him, Terry, do you remember any humans being on the ship working with the aliens? And he paused for a second and he said, oh my God, I hadn't remembered this till you asked me just now, but I'm looking around on the ship and I'm seeing, I think he said 4 or 5 human beings in military outfits, and they're over just to the right of him, he says, in this kind of alcove area, and they're working on, like the command center of some place with lots of computers and screens and what have you. They're wearing tan uniforms, and I'm not going to talk to you guys about the insignias or anything because that's kind of a secret at this point too. But bottom line, they were wearing the tan uniform. And trust me, folks, the tan uniform keeps coming up. It keeps coming up when anybody's on a triangle craft working with ET, they seem to be wearing the tan uniforms. So I thought that was fascinating. And he said that the interesting part to it was the fact that they just kind of stared into space. They weren't like they were there and animated. And that goes again back to my whole thing that these guys are under severe mind control. Okay. I don't think and people are going to get mad at me when I say this, but I really don't believe there is a 20 and back unless I'm mistaken, because all the guys that I've talked to that have figured out they're being used in the secret space program, flying the ships or fighting battles or doing whatever they're doing. Some of the guys are just maintenance guys. I mean, seriously, I went this one guy, he's like, all I'm doing is I'm down here just, like making sure everything works. He goes, just like I did on the aircraft carrier. He was a mechanic on the aircraft carrier, and now he finds himself a mechanic on a giant black triangle. He goes, there wasn't much to work on. And that's when we started talking about the propulsion system. And I can't talk to you guys about that. But bottom line is, these guys, some of them have just mundane jobs too. It's pretty crazy. And so anyhow, the point I'm trying to make here, folks, is I truly believe there is a secret space program and that we do have human beings, and most of them are military people that are being used, and I believe their mind is being just wiped out through a series of mind control that humans are doing to them, and I believe the ETs do it as well. Because it wouldn't work so well and so permanently if we go back to my story of how they wiped the little alien out of my mind in the movie, and that's all they took out. It's my ability to see it, okay? And then they put it back in. I mean, that's how powerful they are. This goes all the way back to when that big download I had in 2011 when they said to me, we can see through your eyes and we can tell you what to do. And we know everything you're doing and every thought you've ever had. I'm like, holy, this is like God. I mean, think about it. It's that powerful, their ability to turn our mind on and off and use us to do things that we may not even remember doing. And somehow our military has decided they're going to play ball with these guys and let our guys be taken on these ships and be used like this. So going back to my story about PTSD, I think one of the reasons these guys are not remembering stuff is because maybe they're out there cutting limbs off of people and things, and blood is everywhere and it's gory, and maybe they've asked the aliens to make sure these guys don't remember everything, because it would be so traumatic for them to come back and live a normal life here on Earth after doing that for 3 years or 2 years or 2 months or 10 years or whatever. That I mean, trust me, there's a lot of people who have career military jobs that say, it's funny, I was just on this base for like 9 months every year and I don't remember much. So anyhow, I'm just saying, in a lot of ways, it's kind of interesting. I think they're helping these guys not have PTSD when they get back. And I don't know. And there's another whole level that goes with this where, are they really doing this 20 and back thing? I've been really struggling with it. What is your thoughts on 20 and back?
I met someone who claims to be a 20 and backer.
Okay.
And this person was telling me about a battle in the Kuiper Belt with some alien species up there a number of years ago. Had you heard about that?
I did, actually. I've got a guy that has said that there has been some battles out in that area. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I still don't know how it works, if it's just a big mind game or a mind trick or what have you. But there are people out there who believe this. And look, this goes beyond the falsehoods of Corey Good and David Wilcock and the people who've really tried to take advantage of
right.
this situation.
Right.
It's not even a legend anymore, but I do believe there are people out there who have had some ultimate experiences that they are trying to figure out. And if this secret space program is true, then what we're dealing with is something so phenomenal that it could never come out because people just wouldn't be able to comprehend it.
Yes. And that was my whole point of bringing up the whole thing about, the voice to skull communication, the part about PTSD and all that. And even, the South Americans not being able to see the galley, what do they call those, galleon ships or something like that? Anyhow, and me not being able to see the ET on the screen. I mean, it's it's really a conundrum of how these guys are even handling one day in space dealing with stuff. Like the fact that they're on a ship that's got propulsion system that is so far beyond anything we've got here on Earth that we know about. That alone in itself is just a giant, like, oh my God, you know, what the F in capital letters with 20 exclamation points. You know, it's really, could you trust a guy that isn't under mind control to come back here and say, not keep his mouth shut? You know, you couldn't. It'd be so bizarre, you know. That's why, you know, I got to tell you something. That's why I'm sure they've made absolute mincemeat out of Andy Bishago. Because when he started coming forward, they started, you know why I believe Andy? Because they made fun of him on national television. You don't go to the...
What's that theory about?
The what now?
What's that theory about, making fun on national television?
Well, okay, Andy Bishago comes out in the late 90s and starts talking about the fact that he's a time traveler, right? And he gets on Art Bell, he gets quite a following, and then many years later, he starts talking about his Mars expeditions and that kind of stuff. Now, this is when they really start going after him. They start attacking his character online. They start... Facebook starts attacking him from all levels. There's people going after him from every angle. And then suddenly he talks about how he met Barack Obama back in, the early 80s down in Southern California. And a guy was standing with him. They were talking. Barack Obama was staying in the house he was staying at. And Barack Obama goes up the stairs and the guy looks at Andy and says, yeah. And this guy that he was with is part of the time travel group, okay? And he says, Barack Obama, that guy that just went up the stairs, Barry Soetoro, or whatever his name was at the time, he says he's going to be a president of the United States at some point. We've already seen it. Okay? Now, Andy goes out and gets on television and Art Bell and places like that at one point in the early 2000s, or maybe it was George, I don't remember, and says Barack Obama was there in this house and I was told he was going to be a president of the United States. And he was. He became president of the United States. So right after he started talking about the things he knew about that were going to happen in the future that did happen, then national TV, I can't remember who it was. It's one of the late night guys, had somebody on and they started making fun of Andy and his story about Barack Obama. And I thought to myself, Jesus, okay. So now they berated him in a national magazine. They berated him in national newspapers, and they berated him on a national television show. And then at that point, nobody took him seriously anymore. Okay. He couldn't get on a show at that point to talk about anything. So why would you do that if it wasn't true?
That is a very, very interesting theory with everything. Very interesting. Yeah.
I think the higher up and the bigger volume you have about the truth that they don't want us to know about, then they're going to come after you in mainstream media. And at that point, that's when I knew Andy was probably telling us the truth all along about everything. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I believe them. But, I'm always looking for that angle that can prove them either right or wrong, right? Like I was always going, well, Andy, what about those shoes you were wearing? Are you sure they were made in 1774 or whatever it was, and the kid that got his feet cut off in one of the stories, I go, where is that kid now? I want to talk to him, we can't find him. So, I was always kind of skeptical, but after they went after him on national television, you guys, I decided that, I'm 99% with Andy and I think he's telling the truth. At least as far as he knows it, and he absolutely believes it. And I don't think anybody that is that rational and that critical of many of the other people's stories, that lived through something that, how can I say that it was a military project and it was very scientific. And the way he describes it, it's just too pat. It's too normal, too real for him. So there you go. That's my opinion now about Andy. I absolutely believe him,
No, I think that's wonderful. Why do you think we haven't had more people come out about this?
Andy and I just discussed this, and I'll tell you why. Because they don't remember it. And that he told me the last time we spoke, he goes, Lorien, you've always been right on about this. It's the mind control. If you look at every aspect of ufology, of aliens, of the secret space program, of time travel, of Bigfoot, of all this stuff, the bottom line is, who's controlling our thoughts on being able to see this stuff? And when it appears and when it doesn't appear, and if you're a contactee and not a contactee, and non-contactees not be able to see a ship when 3 contactees are standing with them and they all see it, right? He goes, it all comes down to mind control. He goes, even in my program, they controlled my mind. They mind wiped me, but somehow I remembered everything. He goes, I was just, I guess, either lucky or not lucky. He goes, I don't know which. But the bottom line is I was able to remember and articulate it enough to be able to get out there and tell people this is a real deal. So there you go. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry here. I think that the mind control is actually the ruler at the top of the pyramid on everything that happens with ghosts, with the paranormal, the psychic abilities, all the way down to ETs and Bigfoots and secret space program. I think that's the tip of the pyramid. And I think we should all be actually asking ourselves, how much mind control am I really under being here, knowing the things I know?
3 minutes or less. We expect all of these and we assume all of these creations are real. And and I'm one of those ones who wants this to be real, but I love the secrets of it too. I really do. Do you think there will come a time when we will actually get the truth about this? Or is this one of those programs that literally is probably 100, 200 years away from being announced?
Are you talking about the secret space program again?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think it's going to be announced a lot sooner. If we can get the Congress and, that whole program exposed that it actually is real, at that point, once the Congress and the government and everybody has to come out and say, well, yeah, disclosure's real, we're going to tell you guys that UFOs do exist, man, the dam is going to break and we're going to get it all, okay? And we may not like what we get. We may find out that the aliens are mind controlling us all on this planet to the point where, that's why we have to sit and fight over whether it's real or not, So, but yeah, I mean, I just think it's all going to come out. And I think it's going to be like 10 to 15 years from now. Everybody's been telling me they think it's going to happen this year or next year or even 5 years from now. I think they're going to wait a little bit longer to give us the absolute all real truth. I just don't think it's going to happen quite as fast. Now, we got to remember, 2015 was the year that Tom DeLonge came out and said, it's all going to break loose, I promise you, at some point. That was 9 years ago, everybody. 9 years ago. So they're already 9 years into this. So another 10 or 11, not a big deal. At the very beginning of it, I said it'll be 2035 before we get the truth. And I think I'm right on schedule.
You seem like it. And you know what? I'm hearing more 2035, 2036 now, too.
Oh,
so
really? That's interesting. Yeah.
That's a good confirmation. That's for sure. Moving forward here, as we only got about 90 seconds left, Lorien, should people be scared of this? Should they be weary of what is going on behind the scenes that they don't know?
No, absolutely not, you guys. Don't be afraid of any of this, because the reality is the space brothers out there that are the higher dimensional beings that love and care about us, that are closer to God, if you've got a God or a source or whatever, They are really, they really love us. And I believe that they will reign supreme in the end. I really do. I think they're going to take care of us. But we have to work with them, and we have to realize they are real and they're there and ask for their help. I think that's important.
Nicole Sackett just put in the chat room. Eric Davis, the scientist, stated that 2034 will be the time.
Yeah. See, I knew that the minute it happened, it would be about 20 years from the date that DeLong came out. Yeah. So, everybody, if you need to get a hold of me, go to lorienfenton.com and give me a holler. I'm there all the time. I'm always in front of my computer, so I got the email humming.
All right, Lorien, thank you for jumping on quick notice here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We love you, and you are definitely one of the best, so thank you very much for coming on in. Coming up next, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Then right after that, Travis Williams has the the Cryptid report tonight. Yep, lots more action in Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio next. Thank you, Lorien.
Oh, thank you. It was wonderful. And I think Christine said, where can we follow you? Just go to my website. I got so many things going on that I'm not a big social media person, as Dave knows. He like texts me all this stuff on all these media platforms. I'm like, I don't even use them, So just go to my website. That's the only place I really respond to people is through, the contact email. So there you go.
Love you, dear. We'll talk
okay,
soon.
Sweetie, I gotta run. I gotta get back to work.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, Lorien Fenton, everybody. And I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll get going right back. All right. We're back. We having a good time? I want to say a big thank you to T-Bone times 2, Human Carl, Deb, and Foxy Joe for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support, everybody. And don't forget, go to info@spacedoutradio.com, info@spacedoutradio.com, because you are going to want to get your tickets, if you haven't already, for third annual SOR fan party. We want you to be there. All of our special guests, like Lorien Fenton, are going to be there for you. And we want to make sure that you have a good time with us. We do this event for you guys, so we want to make sure that all of you have an opportunity to be there. Yeah, live radio show, VIP party with all of our special guests, along with a ghost tour with Merle, sky watching with Melinda Leslie. We got a lot planned for you guys. A lot planned for you. May 10th through 12th at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort in Reno, Nevada. We want to see you there. So make sure you come join us. How about that? I'd appreciate that. Yeah. Water. So good. So good. So good. Of course we are, Sovereign. Of course we are. That's why we need you there, so you can rip hard. All right, we're going to get going in here in 10 seconds, so get ready. It's going to be fun. Here we go, everybody.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ted Atonement is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It is that time of the night. We say hello to Steve Stockton from the YouTube channel Among the Missing for a great spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. If they were taken alive, we want them back alive. That was the statement given by the Garifuna community in 2020 when 5 of their leaders were kidnapped at the height of the pandemic. At the time, Honduras was under strict travel bans around the country due to the pandemic. Only military, police, and medical professionals could move freely about the communities during that time. The 5 men were in the area campaigning for the 2015 ruling on land illegally sold by the government to foreigners for development. The home they were staying in was invaded by men wearing police uniforms and bulletproof vests. Early in the night, family members of the 5 men were awakened from sleep and harassed into telling where the men were staying. Locks were destroyed, windows broken, and the men were taken at gunpoint. In September 2020, 50 days had passed without any demands or any word on the men's whereabouts as families waited to hear from the kidnappers. That word never came. There's been an escalation of violent actions against the leaders who defend these territories since 2015, said Ronnie Castillo, an activist. Today, we feel stronger than ever. The Garifuna people have permanently mobilized to defend their autonomy and self-determination. Frane said in a statement, "We are conscious that the Garifuna cannot exist without our territories, and that the day we lose our land, we will have lost what keeps our identity alive." The 5 men, Albert Centeno, Milton Martinez, Swami Meha, Geraldo Roches, and Junior Meha, remain missing to this day. And now, time for some successful rescues. There were 8 students who went missing off the coast of Roatan, Honduras. A speedboat that was carrying 8 students went missing on June 29, 2013. Those among the missing included 2 American students, 5 Honduran students, and 1 Canadian student. They left the Bay Island of Attila and were supposed to head to Water Cay, Belize, but changed their minds at the last minute and decided to go to Roatan instead. Their boat ran out of fuel miles off the coast, and they drifted out to sea, then inland, where they were spotted on Thursday, July 4th. The United States Navy joined the search and rescue effort and covered 4,500 square miles of sea before finding the missing students on Bay Island, Honduras. That Wednesday morning, the missing people were spotted by the Navy adrift in the sea. Coast Guard successfully airlifted each student onto the helicopter and returned to a local hospital in the Honduras. Families gathered to greet their missing and rescued loved ones and were jubilant when the news came in about the successful rescue. A special thanks to the United States Coast Guard, United States Navy, and of course the local fishermen of Belize and Honduras areas, and the media for aiding in the search and rescue efforts. On July 6, 2021, fishing vessel Falling Star and her 15-man crew set off for a fishing trip for lobster off the coast of Jamaica. Just before midnight the same day, an emergency call came into the Coast Guard that the ship was in trouble off the coast of Honduras. It was in an irretrievable list and rolled without warning. Some of her passengers were able to release the skiff into the water and climb aboard before the Falling Star sank to the depths of the ocean floor. Search and rescue efforts started straight away, and local commercial vessels in the area were notified of the sinking. On July 15, 2021, 10 men that survived the sinking were found in the skiff, having survived 10 days at sea. Sadly, the captain had passed away a day earlier and was buried at sea. The men were found and pulled aboard the MTM Amsterdam on their way to Guatemala from Jamaica. The cargo vessel spotted the men after hearing the distress call for ships in the area where the sinking happened to keep an eye out for the missing fishermen. The men were taken from the ship to local hospitals, where they were treated for dehydration and other non-life-threatening conditions. Tragically, the other 4 men are still listed as missing, and the captain was celebrated for his efforts in getting the distress call out before the ship suddenly sank.
Thank you, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing, for another great story. You can hear more just like that at youtube.com/Among the Missing, and have a good time entertaining yourself that way. From the missing to the mysterious, it's the Cryptid Report. Travis William Moostus is here to bring us in. Travis William Moostus of the Cree Nation, just north of Edmonton, Alberta, hanging on out with us. He is a true monster hunter and does everything with aliens, cryptids like Bigfoot, Dogman, and everything in between. It's a good time when Travis is here to hang out with us and talk about all sorts of monsters that we have. If you're in our YouTube audience, you can definitely try your best and get a question into Travis. We will get it to him. And hello, Travis. Good to see you, my man.
Greetings. Is this working? Or
yeah, you're sounding great now.
Oh, okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Excellent. I'm happy to be back here, Dave. I was just on the other night there with Rob G, and I was showing him some of the interesting crafts that I've spotted recently. Well, I spotted recently.
What kind of crafts?
Oh, well, sorry, crafts. I mean, craft that was like kind of silently just flying over the area. And it was like a green flashing kind of, it looked like at first I wasn't quite sure because it almost strobed just like an aircraft that'd be from around here. But then I noticed that it had this luminescent green, bluish type of light to it. And the lights were just a pattern that weren't like I should say like our aircraft out here. So it was very unrecognizable. So I got out and I had some time to collect like 2 videos of it, 2 short videos before it managed to fly over the area. And it was quite low too, but it was very silent and it had no helicopter sounds. And like I said, it was just odd, like the way it felt. And as it was flying south, a little orb kind of like appeared underneath it. So it was like very interesting. And I didn't think, I was like, okay, that's a very cool find. Maybe I'll show it off in a week or so. And then sometime within the few days, I managed to find another video that was from Canada. And it was like within the week of the same craft flying by. And I was like, there we go.
I'll tell you why I believe you in your sightings with the UFOs. And that's because what a lot of people don't understand, most people who listen to this show are in metropolises or cities where there's constant air traffic going over. When you live in the north like I do and like you do, away from populated areas, you learn the flight plans of the aircraft that are coming through. You learn the flight plans of any type of aircraft that is traveling across the Atlantic, or probably across the Arctic, or across Canada, or heading to Alaska, or down into the United States. You know where they're flying because their patterns never change. And I always find it interesting because in my town, which is not as far north as yours, we maybe get 5 aircraft a day flying over, if that, and nothing really at night, maybe 1 or 2 transcontinental type flights. You're the same way. And so if you're picking up something anomalous and seeing things that don't make sense in the sky, I believe that, because I know I've seen things here. And when you live, the more north you go, the more sparse of the population, you have less light pollution. You have more chance of seeing everything from satellites to planets to the beautiful Milky Way. It's right there for you for the picking. So to pick out something a little bit anomalous, it's a little bit easier for us, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And the stars, like you said, when it's a nice clear night, it's quite mesmerizing. And you get to know a lot of these, like you said, positions and the brightness and shines of the different stars and planets in the galaxy. And like you said, we get a couple planes that fly over, commercial airlines, like you said, that pass over by. And you can tell what is the difference and their type of flight speeds as well. And every time that I'm unsure about when it comes to like space stations or if I may have got it on camera, I go and check the flight patterns that day and where it was in location relatively to that video, like me and when I took the video in that time. And usually it's never around, never in the area, so like a lot of these, I do check in with when it comes to those type of I should say large lights in the sky or videos of lights in the sky. But as for the last one, it was very, it was like pretty close to the, I should say close in the sky, like it would have been like cloud level. And it was flying right over and there was no sound to it. And it's only thing I could hear was like the cars driving by on the highway. And it was very, very unique, kind of just kind of floating on over passerbys kind of deal. And it was nice to see that and great to get confirmation about all of them.
I want to change topics here and get into some monster talk here. What are some, or you've wandered through many of forests in your day. Have you ever found trinkets or designs hanging in trees or around stumps or what have you to kind of give clues to what people should be looking for? And the reason why I ask this is earlier today at my daytime job, I actually had a gentleman come in to meet me because he heard me on this show. He lives locally, and he had a Sasquatch story to tell. He didn't see the creature, but near his house, which is probably, about 15 miles from headquarters here, he actually found 12 footprints in the snow back in 2022. And he's kind of kept quiet about it, but he heard that I'm into all this stuff, and he's like, "Hey, do you have a minute? I got to tell you a story." Of course. Of course I always have time for that. So, I'm curious because when he was asking me what should I look for, I said you have to look for the anomalies. You have to look for clues in order to find an area, and then you stage that area, okay, with yourself. And you don't go wandering around all the paths or anything like you see them do on TV. It's not the way it's done. Sasquatch will come to you. All you have to do is sit still and do everything the same. Park your vehicle in the same spot. If you're wearing cologne, wear the same cologne. If you have a bonfire in the forest, in a safe area, of course, make sure the fire is always in the same spot, and try and do everything the same. Do you have areas there where you have found these types of clues?
As where it's like locally, this area is all riddled with different kind of remains from different Sasquatch encounters, or different kind of just places that were an area for them to come forward to and during ceremonies and stuff, and there's been trees snapped and little designs, things like that, where it was 4 trees that were just totally snapped at the same level base, and it was they're pretty thick trees too, right? They weren't but at the same time there's been where it's been borders, little places that were closed off for reasons they didn't want people to go down there anymore, or they just were in the area at that time, and then they didn't want anybody intruding on the area, and so they set up a little thing and just blocked off the path or the trail. And so they do come around and they will do that and leave little areas where they've, like I said, cut off places, or they'll have a little setups for them where they hang around in.
What kind of clues should people be looking for?
So a lot of times people will it's a lot of times if you're in their area, they'll find you, like you said, and they'll let you know, because most of the time when I've heard about the encounters, people have been growled at or told to not go around there or hunt those animals, or so when people have encountered the Bigfoots in that kind of sense, or intruded in their territory, they're usually found and let known in that regards. But you'll see tracks, you'll see areas where seating areas and things like that, where they've been hanging around or walking around and taking time to enjoy that area, wherever it is, living off the resources in that tree line or that forest line, or if they're there's things that they're there for, there could be other pathways that they're taking, or different kind of zones they're entering in. That could be also it too. So it all depends on where they're going, as where they're connecting, or say if we're connecting and we're having our ceremonies in the forest, then they'll come out there and meet us as well and come see us. There's been a lot of that where they'll come and see you on these ceremonies, or these quests, vision quests and such. So. Okay.
Let me follow that up with the creatures that are out there that you have dealt with. Does a creature like Bigfoot leave different clues than, say, little people or gnomes or Dogman or anything else? Are they different?
Yeah, they are quite different. Sometimes they will have structured, they'll have their own drums, or their own kind of rattles. Sometimes they'll have mounds of this healing clay, different kind of little things that they've chosen to leave over time, or little clay figures and things they've made or put together, little I should not say figures, but they're almost like little, like kind of like little clumps of statue, like little pieces that they put together and kind of hardened over time. And yeah, these are like for their kids and stuff. And most of the time when people see these Bigfoots are getting like visited, most of the time they are like adolescent or young Bigfoots that are curious of them. And because most of the time the big ones, like they already know you're in the area. They know, they can smell you. They sense your whole energy field. It's like you're entering in their territory, right? So it's really like them making that kind of call, or you're seeing some of the remnants of it, and, you know, are the tracks, because people find tracks a lot of them, and that's part of that, seeing that. And usually it's untamed wild areas that people don't go to or can't usually reach without conventional like vehicles or like things that like will help someone traverse the rough terrains out in these back countries, and survive out there. Because when you're really out there, it does become like you know, like you are like the animals are on like a more predatory rate than other times, like than they ever will be, right? So you kind of got to really keep yourself safe, and then also to the environment. You can't get hurt out there or anything. It's a no danger zone, right? It's a very dangerous place to to go, and like, you know, if you're going to be going to these areas and just trying to get to these remote locations and things. But I wouldn't suggest that, and just because of reasons of a lot of people don't, they might run into something else, or they might not end up making it back just because of the level of how far you have to go out, and remoteness, and just survival capabilities, and these things actually will defend themselves too.
I love it. I love it. We got about 3 minutes to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour here of the Cryptid Report with Travis Willier Moostus. Do you find that a lot of these creatures create their own clues, trinkets, or whatever we want to call them from nature? Or are they using like maybe things they found that humans have left around, like maybe a pen or a hair comb or anything like that?
I know the little people like to take shiny things and hang them and decorate their inner dwellings with them, and they like the colors and like the shine of like different little things, and or like for example like the clothes, like if you make them clothes, they will take those and use them, and sometimes it'll be just like little rolled up balls of like offering of like fabrics and little things that will be made as well, not just like you're making clothes all the time. It can be just little rolled up balls of fabric, and also too with like Bigfoots and stuff, though it is like it is mainly nature based. Like a lot of these beings, like even the little people, when they make their own clothes, it's all from like the grass and the different kind of like fibers they can locate around. And like I said, they look more like they're dressed like the forest, and like they look part of the forest. And same thing with the Bigfoot, they like to just use the mud and the clays and use the different kind of bones and things, and yeah, like I said, hides they used, and we've seen drums over time and things, and huge things left in the forest from other different kind of creatures that are out there. And like I said, my uncle came across a few large pots in the forest that were left from some of these big things that were roaming the forest in the ancient times, and and those were used to cook a bunch of people. So like I said, like those giants were eating people back in the day, so the Cree people had to hunt them down. A lot of these like red-haired giant and red skinned giants as well, like they were very huge and very malicious towards the tribes, and so a lot of the Cree people and the Kainai people, the blood tribes, had to hunt them down. They actually hunted them right down to the last cave, and but yeah, these beings would walk around and have these pots and cook people up in them. It was pretty wild.
1 minute to go. We've heard of Bigfoot braiding the manes and tails of horses. Do they also braid other things like trees together, or grass, long grass, in order to put these out as almost signal markers?
Some of their yeah, like it depends. Like some of them have different healing capabilities. The ones that I've heard of were able to use their like use the clay, like I was mentioning, and they were actually able to fix people, like fix like even hurt animals and such. Like so, like it's kind of funny that you were mentioning like horses and things like that. But they're saying that like they were able to like piece back broken bones and things and help healing, like in that sense. They were able to use mud and piece back together like beings. Yeah.
All right, Travis, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're in for our final break of the night here on Spaced Out Radio. Travis William Moosetoos is the Cryptid reporter for tonight on the Cryptid Report. Go figure, right? Cryptid reporter on the Cryptid Report. Travis William Moosetoos, a monster hunter from Edmonton, Alberta. We'll be right back. More Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we are clear. Clear, man.
Sweet. I'm gonna run and grab another coffee. Don't mind.
Right on. Hi, Lost Souls. How you doing? I am going to get to questions here, guys. Carol Burke, nice to see you. Always love it when you're here. Mr. Catfish, thanks for coming on in. Woo Child, how you doing? All right. Just one question? One question? Nelicious. Welcome to SOR Chat. Look at her. Right off the bat, first comment. I love this show. Well, this show loves you, Nelicious. Or Nelashus. Or are you Nelashus? Exclamation point. I don't know. Thank you for listening, by the way. Very much appreciate that. Lex Diaz, are you going to finish your question there? Question. Are Bigfoots, that's it. Are they what, Les? The suspense is killing me, Lex. Are skinwalkers people that can shape shit? That is awesome. Never had a shape shit here before. I'm putting that up. Totally putting that up. That is cool. Now, hopefully I don't say it on the air. That would be funny. That would be funny. Oob to Joe's Main. You've got super soldiers. Look at Lex. Oh my God, I hate typing on my phone. Oh. Scrub-a-dub-dub is returned. Exactly me, Woykin, who says shape-shitting is a skill. What's your question for me, Kurt? We got a couple minutes here. Carol Berkey. Good Edmonton girl right there. Look at that. Oh, and that's Tony. Right there. I missed your show, Dave. Love that Travis is local to me. Absolutely. Travis has nice hair. He may have some of the nicest hair out of all of our guests ever. I don't think he could give Geraldine Orozco a run for her money, but he's got some damn fine hair. Mm-hmm. It's true. I'm not a Rage Against the Machine fan. But Bulls on Parade and Killing in the Name of are two good songs. That's for sure. All right, everybody. Thank you to T-Bone times 2, Deb, Human Carl, and Foxy Joe for the super chats. Here we go with the final half hour. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate wearing the tinfoil for each and every one of you. All of our archives are free. You can find them at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go with Travis Willier Moostus, and we're going to continue the Monster Talk. Travis, thank you so much for being here. And let me tell you, we got some great audience questions for you, my man.
Excellent. That's great to hear. Thanks for having me back. It's a great show. And thank you to the viewers for tuning in and watching and listening out there. Pleasure to have you.
Start off with Blue Cruz here, who is asking, Travis, that's you. Are the Dark Walkers the same or similar to the Sasquatch people?
The Dark Walkers, we'd have to. Is that more like the Shadow Walkers? Is that what they're alluding to? Is that yeah? Because I'm not too sure what they mean by the Dark Walkers, but we do have those kind of like I said, the shadow walkers or rooftop runners, as what it was deemed to be that time, running over the houses and stuff, as the elders were saying that's what the spirits were given a sign. But similar to the Sasquatches, I would say no.
All right. Not. Woo Child would like to know, do fairies and the Cryptids do fairies and the Cryptids gang together?
It's all the same. It's all the same, like, universal realm energy, and they all have their frequencies and vibrations that they all I should say that they all exist on, and some exist on higher planes and some exist on lower planes. But they have been known to like the little people and Bigfoot have been known to be together and cooperate on that same interstellar level.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. Let's go to Lex. Are skinwalkers people that can shapeshift or something else like aliens?
Yeah, the shapeshifters are very unique in the sense of, like, sometimes there'll be spirits that are shapeshifting into certain beings that we can communicate with or interact with, so on this earthly level. But as for the aliens and their levels of, like, I should say, shapeshifting into, like, a version of us that they could be walking amongst us with is totally possible. I've had encounters with alien extraterrestrial beings that have been too they were too ghastly looking to like I was just looking at them. I couldn't understand it, but then they were able to use their psychic communications to visually send me a visual of them or vision of them, and they were like a human being, like a human form, but they were just and they were able to communicate on my level, and they were just saying they were just like I was able to take this form, so you were more understanding of me and more open to this. You're more open to talk to this form than the other one, kind of deal, because the other one was kind of too questionable. I didn't understand it, right? And but so sometimes the aliens will do that, and they are on that higher frequency level, and they will come and talk, or they'll take a shape for you to understand, or for you to get along with, I should say.
Can all cryptids shapeshift?
Not all. The little people don't, although they are able to create an energy field which they can enter and take form of like an energy or orb, and they can actually go into different frequencies or go into the stars and different universal level connections, like with star pathways in that regards. But Bigfoots haven't been known to ever shapeshift other than to enter their dimensions, just like I said, to enter the frequencies and portal realms. And but as for other cryptids, say some of the spider humanoids, or the deer antler people, or even some of the fox coyote hybrids, those folks, our dog man would be one, have been they go from human form or somebody would transform into one, or take that form and become it, like a dog man. Some people have been called the wild man, for example. That's the version on our tales, is they become the wild man. It's like they go back to more of becoming like a beast and living in the trees, and that was part of some people were more natural and connected to that world in our tribes, in our circles, right? So there were some that chose to just become a beast or go back to being a man, like a I should say like a beast man in the woods, kind of deal.
Love it. Travis Williams is our guest tonight. Let's go to Tony in the UK. Travis, have you ever known anyone that befriended a Sasquatch?
That I've actually there's stories of them helping people get back, and there's been like when they were lost in the woods, but there's been stories where, and that's just there was a friendly encounter that helped them get back. But there's people shamans that do in our circles, our tribes, our medicine circles, that do have connections with these spirits of the Sasquatch, and they do communicate and do come to the ceremonies and do provide healing to folks, and or connect with the spiritual energy level and bring forward that energy and help them connect with the healing. And it's they're so on that relationship level, yes, it does exist. And but most of the time people tend to leave them and respect them in their areas. If we know they're around, we'll tend to just kind of keep away and let them be until they find a new place, or they go into a new area, or take refuge in a new location, kind of deal. Yeah, it's just kind of like a respect thing in that regards when it comes to the Bigfoots.
Love it, Travis. All right, let's there was a story in my area in Wells Gray National Park where for years allegedly this seniors couple would go camping in the same park in the same spot. They would reserve that camping spot year after year, and apparently they would bring jars of peanut butter and jam and make peanut butter and jam sandwiches, and they would hand them off to this Sasquatch. And every year the same Sasquatch would be in that territory. So I do believe that there is a close enough connection where that can happen.
Oh yeah, to leave them offerings is pretty standard practice. Like to gift them objects or to leave them little gifts, like in that sense, like you said, food or something like that could totally take place and be a relationship. Yeah. But as like you're in like where somebody goes off with them, usually that would only happen if like I said, for the encounter. And it's kind of like a message they're bringing you to another state of spiritual world or heightened frequency, or they're helping you see a vision, and it's usually like a message that's to help the world or help you in your journey, kind of deal. You'll like usually the person figures that out along the way.
All right, let's continue on here with another question. Let's go to Dino Bravo. What is your view on Todd Standing?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't say I have a view.
I'll answer this one. Todd Standing is a highly controversial Canadian Sasquatch researcher. He has made videos of where he says he's been up close and personal and filmed Sasquatch. His videos look amazing with the way the Sasquatch looks and everything. But there's a lot of people out there who believe that his family members who are makeup artists and costume design artists, and there's a high level of thought out there that he made these costumes in order to make himself impressive in the Sasquatch world, and that he was also trying to make money off of these videos for a long time too. This is predating, YouTube. And one thing about Todd, if you watch any of his videos, and I've never met the guy personally, never talked to him, tried getting him on this show a number of times, and he never responded. So you just kind of have to give up after a certain point. But his videos are very, very unique because it shows him running around the forest, yelling, screaming, running through creeks, wearing ghillie suits, and all sorts of things that I have learned are not necessary. Now, every researcher is going to do things their own way. Whatever works for them, works for them. But he doesn't have the best reputation. And a lot of people who have given him a chance have now kind of pushed away from him, whether it's Dr. Jeff Meldrum, the late Dr. John Bindernagel, or even Les Stroud, the Survivor Man, when he was looking for Sasquatch there. So it's a very, very touchy subject with a lot of people. All right, let's move on. Sweet Tony D is asking, Travis, what does Sasquatch translate to?
The Sasquatch word. I'm not sure what that one is, but we called him Mr. Napuyo. That's what we called him. We called him.
Yeah,
that was his name for us. But
that term came from the Chehalis tribe in Harrison Mills, Harrison Hot Springs, British Columbia, and I believe it translated. I think this is probably, and don't laugh at me, Travis, but this is probably the only word I actually know in the Chehalis language, in the Salish language, and I believe it translates into hairy wild man. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. So
yeah,
living down there, having a bunch of First Nations friends, you learn this stuff. Let's move on to Blue Cruise here. Did aliens or ETs have any influence on teaching humans how to shapeshift? Good question.
Yeah, some do help out with these levels of spirituality. Like I've had like I said, my friend. He was my friend. He was an older shaman. He was an elder. He was a teacher of mine, and his name was Mr. Haya. And he passed away a few years, it would be about 8 years ago now, 10 years ago now. But he would tell me about how the alien beings come to pick him up during his vision quest, and they were there to upgrade his healing capabilities to bring it to British Columbia at the time, right? So he lived doing that to his dying day. He healed like thousands of people and helped people with all their addictions and different kind of ailments that they had from addictions and living that lifestyle. But yeah, he told me about a lot about how those beings, they came down and they picked them up in a starcraft and brought them to the sky, and they were all on the ship, and they were doing these it was like spiritual I should say it was like spiritual guided meditation. Like they were all together and they were passing along this energy to him, and they were telling him that he was going to do this healing on Earth. And so like they do come help with certain like spiritual abilities, and but a lot of times people get spiritual like to transform to animals. It really comes from their connection to their spirit guide or their spirit animal, and that's earned through like ceremonies and living a connection to that life and to that animal, and that animal takes pity upon you in your existence and comes to share with you its power, kind of deal, and help you out in your life. And you live with that gift, and you honor it by living true to that animal and that spirit, right? And so like people that get animal gifts or spirit, they get passed on these gifts to transform or shapeshift. They end up it'll usually pertain to that animal that was connecting with them. So whether that be a wolf or coyote or deer, or even sometimes yeah.
S. Vermette would like to know, during forest fire season, have Bigfoot been spotted more often? I've wondered, and I have to say, I've wondered about that question too, because I do live in a forest fire area, and I'm curious about this one.
Yes, a lot of the animals do come out, and they do. A lot of the beings do. They'll enter their different realms or areas when the fire blows through, so they're not harmed. But a lot of the animals do come out, and a lot of the cryptids do end up coming around following the animals where the animals go, right? Because they'll eat them or follow where the herd goes still, like in that old cycle kind of deal. And that's where you'll get a lot of these larger, predatorial animals or packs of them. And, that's caused from forest fires and displacement. So they're finding new areas, and so people will be seeing a lot more of that. And like I'm just saying, like cryptids in that sense in the areas and stuff from the forest fires that happened last year and things, for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it's going to play out this year, because they are preparing right now for a very heavy forest fire season. So I'm curious how it's going to go. All right, let's move on to another question. We got about 4 minutes. Blue Cruise, by the way, a comment for you. Yes, if I'm correct, based on the article information I found and read on Phantoms and Monsters website, it references the Dark Walkers as Shadow Walkers. So you're correct on that, Travis. So thank you. Let's go to first-time listener in our chat room, Nella Schuss. Nella Schuss. Could skinwalkers shapeshift into orb shapes?
Yeah, there's some that are able to take forms of like smoke and different kind of like they can go into electricity and different kind of elements or water, and just float into the rivers and different kind of things.
Can all of them shapeshift into orbs?
Not all of them. Not all of them. Not all of them. That's for sure. Not all of them. I've seen different kind of means of when they transform, and different kind of. I've been told of different levels of their connection to these elemental beings and spirits and energy.
All right, that's excellent. Excellent. Let's go over to Dino. Would Bigfoot pick a guy up at the airport? Let's just be honest, because everybody needs a ride to the airport every now and again. Such an inconvenience having to be the driver.
that's just hilarious. That's just funny. Great comment. I appreciate it. But no. But no.
You live in an area where you get a lot of creatures roaming on through. Have you ever heard of or had any stories from your area where maybe somebody has had like a steak taken off the barbecue or a pie off the windowsill?
Like like from the Sasquatch taking things and running off with stuff,
or any cryptid.
We've had more of like cryptids, like peering in through the windows or scratching on the doors, or like and they do come around when like you said, like when stuff are being baked and different kind of if there's food smells from camps and stuff like that. So yeah, there's been that sightings when they've come around because of that. But like as for like stealing anything, no, I never and nobody's ever told me about them just taking something like a pie or a whole deer or anything like that off of them. But it's but we found like carcasses and things like that eaten out there.
Okay, what about walking into a home? We never hear of Sasquatch just walking into a cabin. We hear him wrecking cabins, throwing things at cabins, trying to knock on the walls of cabins, trying to push them over.
Oh yeah, there's like the tales go back to like Bigfoot coming and sitting outside of the camp or watching us, like watching the teepees and watching everybody like going amongst their business or following hunting parties. And then to this day, like I said, it's when it's around or it's respected in that manner and taken as like a guardian, or it's around and giving us that message of that connection to that part of the spirit realm, that frequency. Well, as terms of like, just like, the Bigfoot's living in like coming at the houses and like like coming inside of them. We've never really had like that happen, but we've had them enter in our like our lodges for like in their spirit, like with the spirit energies and their and actually like heal people, and you'd hear them like them singing in the songs and stuff. Like you hear a lot of like it's pretty wild stuff. So like they've done that, like so like when you said like they come into houses, that's the only thing I could think of.
All right, buddy, it's that time of the night where we got to say goodnight to you and the rest of our audience. Big thank you for coming on the Cryptid Report, and if Robin is healthier, she'll be back or later this week, and then we'll talk to you next week, my friend.
All righty, I'll see you then, Dave. Take care, everybody, and many blessings to everyone out there. Thanks for tuning in and watching. I'll see you when I see you. That's all for now. Examaga.
Much love, Travis William Moose. Stay real and keep hunting them monsters, my man. You're one of the best. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. And soon, my friends, we shall ride again. The seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yep, we've got room for them too. Good night. Nice show, everybody. Nice show. Give yourselves a good hand. Give yourselves a hand. Next show tomorrow night. We're here 7 days a week there. Nella Shuss. Maybe she's Nellacious. Like hellacious, but Nellacious. I think that's the one. Nellacious. Coral Karina. Oh, welcome back. Been a long time. Hmm. Mm. 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 I was right. It was Nellacious. Hellacious, Nellacious. I like it. Thanks, Carol Burke, with an E on the end. Good night, Luscious Jules. Well, you know, I am going to trim the beard this weekend. I'm supposed to go for a hair appointment tomorrow, but I don't know if I'll make it. It is getting long again, though. Mm-hmm. All right. Time to edit. Yeah, Lorien was amazing. She's on fire tonight with her stories. I do have amazing hair, Carol. Thank you. Audacious Amber, how are you? Good morning to you. Good to the morn. See you in the morrow. Thanks, Vanessa. Thank you, Skip to Malou. I'm trying to improve on the rest of the package here. I got the hair down, Pat. I got nice feet, but it's in between the hair and the nice feet that needs some work right now. And yes, I was at the gym today. Mm-hmm. Totally was. Lex, you're a handsome fellow. Look at you. Look at you. Styling and profiling. You're like the Ric Flair of the chat room, man. Give us a woo. Just a little one. Come on. Just a little woo. How's a woman? What the hell is a piggy warmer? I got to Google that. I don't know what a piggy warmer is. Are we talking about your toes? So what's warming your feet? I don't get that. It's up between the belly and your thighs. Oh, that's a little personal. You naughty, naughty thing. Naughty, naughty. Look at Amber. She's just like laughing there. She's like, yep, that's warm. Is my son ever going to start his YouTube channel? Not for a few years. I don't know what he would talk about. Flashback. The other day, I was at my daytime job, and do you remember the song from Tiffany, I Think We're Alone Now? How can almost 40 years later or 35 years later, I still know the lyrics to that? It's friggin' ridiculous. Come on. Running just as fast as we can, holding onto one another's hands, trying to get away into the night. Then you put your arms around me and we stumble to the ground, and then we sang, I think we're alone now. Come on. That's going to be in your head all night long now. All night long. Yeah, he kind of is, Maureen. He kind of is. No, I totally did not. That happened at work today. I was always more of a Debbie Gibson fan. I would totally fangirl over Debbie Gibson. I will say this. Here's another weirdo thing I did today. While I was at the gym on the treadmill, had my headphones in. So I'm going through YouTube. And I'm like, what do I want to listen to? I actually listen to the first 4 songs watching the Eras Tour concert of Taylor Swift. I did. I'm telling you, turn it into a Swiftie. I'm going to be getting friendship bracelets all over the place now. Probably, I wanted to listen. Like a lot of you would be like, why? I wanted to know what the hype is about. I mean, yes, she's very talented. She's making a boatload of money. And, obviously, that she's done some pretty cool things. With really taking care of her staff, and every town she goes to or city she goes to, she donates a bunch of money. Charities that are local. So I would actually love to see her in concert. It'd be quite the experience. It's like 3.5, 4 hours. I don't know a single song. I really don't. But I would go for the entertainment value. I totally would. Yeah, I totally would. Joe, if you really did win tickets, you could put them on Facebook and sell them for like 2, 3, 4 grand a piece. The hell am I doing? There I am. You would come to Reno with the money, Joe, and we can drink kokanee beer together. Because by damn it, we'll find a kokanee beer down there. Somebody's going to have kokanee beer. We'll even call, if we can't find one, we'll even call the distributors to say, where's the kokanee in this town? And Joe, we can then rent a convertible and sing Tiffany's I Think We're Alone Now. With the top down, our hair waving in the air. I agree that kokanee beer should be a sponsor. It's the beer out here. Where's that program? Right there. Who's on the show tomorrow night? Chris Bartell, Skinwalker Ranch. Used to be a security guard there. We're going to have some fun. Oh, heck yes. Oh, heck yes. Jeff Robert Blask, welcome to SOR. See, I do speak. I've been speaking all night. I'm editing right now. Look at him. Speak, man. Speak. Mm-hmm. Jessica Davenport. That's a good combination right there. And I know Joe would go for it. That Walking on Sunshine song. That one needs to go in the garbage with Coldplay. Mm-hmm. All right, everybody, we're going to shut this thing down. Big thank you tonight to Foxy Joe, T-Bone ×2, Deb, and Human Carl. Much love, everybody, for the great, great love. Thank you to everybody who's given us a thumbs up and subscribed recently. We very much appreciate it. If you're here and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, because it helps us grow. Really does. We'll see you all tomorrow, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Yeah, Chris Bartell, Skinwalker Ranch, tomorrow night. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.